Chapter 61, The Four Most Beautiful Women in the Family. Wu Yi smiled awkwardly. In the past 4 years of university, she had either been studying or working, so where did she get the leisure to care about which stars were hot and which were not? It doesn't matter, just mention Zhang Yuxi. Since she came to the meeting, why is she being so mysterious? Hey, didn't you see that she came early and she's alone, not even bringing her team? Wu Yi looked at Tang Jiawei and shook his bushy eyebrows. Immediately, he thought of the entertainment industry. Coming early to meet her sponsor? You're half right. She's here to find a new sponsor. A new sponsor? Well, her contract is due to expire next year, and it seems her former agency isn't prepared to sign her to a new one because they weren't on the same page about a few things. Plus, she's turning 30, so she's thinking if she doesn't strike while the iron is hot, she might not get another chance. So she snuck in early today, pretending to leave her team behind in Shanghai, behind her agency's back, and it seems she's trying to introduce herself to Lan Haoyu through Zhou Hong. Zhou Hong? Lan Haoyu? Oh, you don't know them. The Zhou family owns Anya Group, which is in the clothing business. They have worked with Zhang Yuxi on catwalk costumes a few times. Lan Haoyu is from the Lan family of Fujian. You should know the Lan family. Wu Yi nodded and said, I know. Lan Miahan is my classmate, but I don't know Lan Haoyu. Lan Miahan is your classmate? Oh, I forgot, you're also a top student at Lujiang University. What? You know her too? Are you kidding? Everyone in the industry knows the four new beauties of the Baman family, they are all the objects of my dreams. The four beauties of the Baman family? You don't know? Tang Jiawei gave a sympathetic expression. I'm starting to feel sorry for you, I guess your family used to be very strict. Wu Yi rolled his eyes. Damn it, just say it. Pan Minmin from the Pan family, Lan Miahan from the Lan family, Lin Qiqi from the Lin family, and Su Manue from the Su family. To be honest, Su Manue is too violent, and Lin Qiqi is relatively young. I still think that Pan Minmin and Lan Miahan have a little more flavor, but unfortunately they are both icebergs, especially Pan Minmin. Everyone in the industry thinks she might be a lesbian. Cough cough. Wu Yi coughed twice awkwardly. He knew very well whether Pan Minmin was a lesbian or not, even though no one else did. What's wrong? Tang Jiawei looked at Wu Yi strangely. It's fine, forget about these family sisters, I think it's more interesting to chat about Zhang Yuxi. Who is Lan Haoyu? Tang Jiawei looked at Wu Yi sympathetically. The biggest worry of the second generation, regardless of gender, is that they are not in control of their marriage. It's really pointless to discuss it, so it's better to chat about internet celebrities. Lan Haoyu is Lan Miahan's cousin. Currently, the Lan family's cultural industry is under his management. He is a relatively intelligent person who is very good at engaging in the internet celebrity economy. Internet celebrity economy? Wu Yi wondered, I see that Zhang Yuxi is already in the entertainment industry, why would he need the resources of the internet celebrity circle? What resources and what resources? Aren't the audiences of the entertainment industry and internet celebrities the same? To put it bluntly, it's all about money. If you have money to throw around, as long as you don't go against the grain, anyone can get resources. Shouldn't someone in the entertainment industry find a patron in the entertainment industry? Wu Yi wondered. Tang Jiawei looked up and thought for a moment. Actually, I'm also very surprised, but it's probably because she has no one else to turn to in the entertainment industry, I guess. Most likely, the original sponsor had some special request, and she didn't want to say no, so she secretly came to Luzhou to see if there was any chance. It's not easy to be so popular and still want to break out of the circle. Wu Yi searched for Zhang Yuxi on TikTok, and sure enough, she was very different in appearance, and you could not tell that she was 27 years old. Forget it, what celebrity, internet celebrity, spring goes autumn comes, wave after wave, how many can stay hot, unless you can become a celebrity yourself, otherwise it's all a flash in the pan. Zhang Yuxi is just starting out as an internet celebrity, so her agency has given her a lot of resources, but she still can't become a celebrity, otherwise she wouldn't be in this situation. Wu Yi smiled and understood, she actually wants to find a new guardian big brother. I think you're used to being the big brother on TikTok, and you probably don't even know anyone who doesn't call themselves the big brother. Wu Yi shrugged and said that he couldn't remember it even if he was told. For people like us, unless we can hang out, how can you remember the things Hua Zi does? No, I'm not on the same level as you, a little brother. Look at you, in your early 20s, driving a Koenigsegg, spending 500 million on your company, my dad isn't even worthy of playing with you, let alone me. That's no fun. I was thinking that after graduation, if I couldn't find a job, you could help me find one. So I was thinking that I could go to your gym to find some early morning venture capital to survive. Oh, money is no problem, but I still need to find you a job. Damn, is there something wrong with your priorities? Is there? The Koenigsegg roared into the parking lot of Jinding Square with the roar of a supercar. As the most luxurious square in Lushan, there were countless luxury cars in the basement, but in front of the Koenigsegg, they all paled in comparison. Many owners of luxury cars almost got out of their cars and showed envious glances. Awesome! Tang Jiawei was full of red, and after parking the car, he was like touching a peerless treasure, lying on the roof of the car and rubbing it for a while, his face showing a burst of ecstasy. Then he took out his phone and took a selfie, not knowing who to send it to. He picked up his phone and started talking. You guys really think highly of me, but even if you sold my father, you still wouldn't be able to afford it. This is my brother's car. Come on, Tang Xiao, if you like it, feel free to take it out for a spin. Wu Yi smiled and said, he still quite likes Tang Jiawei's straightforward personality. Forget it, just for the fun of it. I'm not worthy of this car. If I scratch it, I'll probably have to sell my club to get it fixed. Haha, but didn't you say that every industry is recovering? How can you say that you can't survive? Hearing what Wu Yi said, Tang Jiawei felt a sense of powerlessness. Apart from the catering and tourism industries, which are showing some signs of improvement, what else is there? No one dares to invest or spend, and I have a friend who has 50 million in cash and doesn't want to do anything with it. He doesn't want to invest it either, so he just goes to the bank and deposits it for 3 years. 50 million in a fixed-term deposit? Yes, if this happened 3 years ago, it would be ridiculous. Who would care about the 10,000 odd yuan return? The two men chatted as they walked side by side to the elevator. Tang Jiawei suddenly took out his phone and said, Wu Xiao, are you interested in joining the Baman Car Group? My friends in the group said that everyone is very excited about it, and the group leader even said that he will hold a grand welcome party for you. Group leader? Ding Sai, do you know him? He is the future heir of the Tofun Group? Wow, finally there is something you know. It is true that you have to be a big shot to be known by a big shot. That makes sense. We are not very familiar with each other. Chapter 62, The Car Club. Wu Yi smiled. He knew Ding Sai, mainly because the Tofun Group had previously donated a teaching building to Lujiang University. Tofun Group is a well-known sports brand in Fujian province, and the company's market value has reached tens of billions of yuan. The person speaking on the stage is Ding Shurha, the representative of the group, and he is said to be the deputy general manager of strategy in the group. Tang Jiawei saw Wu Yi hesitate and quickly said, you should also know that the interest in cars in this group is just an introduction. It is full of elites from all over Fujian province, including all kinds of second and third generations, and of course, mainly from Lujiang. I dare not say that general things are not difficult to handle in the group. Usually, if there is a good business or investment, we will share it together. Now that the economy is bad, we younger people can't achieve much either, so we stick together to keep warm. And you have set up a venture capital company in Luzhou, so you may need it in the future. Tang Jiawei had already added Wu Yi's WeChat, but there were a lot of people who wanted to join this group but weren't qualified to do so, and not everyone who was qualified wanted to join. There were also some complicated reasons involving family businesses. Wu Yi thought about it for a while, and since it couldn't hurt, he said, Brother Tang, you're too kind. Tang Jiawei was overjoyed, and without saying a word, he immediately added Wu Yi to a WeChat group with just over 50 members. He then sent a message directly to the group. Welcome Koenigsegg owners, Mr. Wu, please join the group. Hello everyone, I'm Wu Yi, new here, please look after me. Welcome, Mr. Wu. Welcome, Mr. Wu. Mr. Wu, I want to touch the Koenigsegg. I want one too, just let me suck in some exhaust. The group was flooded with messages, and there were also many WeChat friend requests. I'm Zhou Hong, Anya Group. I'm Zhong Chuanbua, Huot Group. I'm Ding Shurha. Wu Yi approved each one and made a note of it, and he also briefly replied to each one, smiling when he saw everyone's introductions. Some second-generation members were afraid that they weren't qualified, so they hurriedly introduced themselves, while for a family like Ding Shurha's, which was worth tens of billions, just saying their name was enough. After all, tens of billions was a rare amount even in the whole country, and in Fujian they were considered a giant. But in the blink of an eye, there were already 99 messages in the group, and Wu Yi couldn't keep up with reading them all. Ignore them, they're just idle people with nothing better to do, just wanting to see who you are. Tang Jiawei laughed, he was also very busy. After all, Wu Yi was a new boss in the group. No one wanted to be rude and ask questions, so the group could only keep chatting with Tang Jiawei in private. Ha, it's fine, it's all quite interesting. Wu Yi smiled and sent a few words back to the group symbolically. Not to mention, everyone in the group is verified, with at least a sports car worth more than 2 million and proof of assets of 20 million. Almost all of these people are second generation, with a small number of first generation. The industries involved are too big to mention, but they are almost everywhere in our province. So if you have something on your mind, just ask in the group. Hey, especially if you want to invest in something, don't let someone else get a bargain. Ask in the group first, don't let other people reap the rewards. Ha, definitely. Wu Yi looked back at the group. Because she hadn't said anything, the excitement of joining the group had already died down. The group was sharing some news. Pan's catering group has pledged a huge amount of money, and the 200 million pledged amount cannot be accepted. Pan Guofu, the person in charge of the group, said that the current stock price has bottomed out and stabilized, and the group will do its best to raise funds. Everything is looking up in the future. Employees of the Luguang Seafood Buffet, a brand under the Pan's Group, went on strike en masse at the Luguang main restaurant. It is rumored that the restaurant, including the manager, has not been paid for 3 months. Pan Minman, vice president of the Pan's Group and general manager of Luguang, attended the press conference and said that the current problems are only internal issues and that the group's business is running steadily. I dare say that the Pan family is definitely finished this time. Heh, it was finished last year, and it was only because of the loans taken out when the old Pan was still alive that it managed to survive for another year. Now let's see how arrogant those two sons of bitches, Pan Xiaozhe and Pan Xiaoqian, can be. By the way, what did that Pan Xiaozhe say about us before? Ha, he said that our group was full of nobodies. That's right, he was bragging that he was the sole heir to a company worth tens of billions of dollars. What are we? Ha ha ha. Come on, the goddess Pan actually holds more than 20% of the group's shares, who is the heir? Pan Xiaoqian would be the first to disagree. Pan Xiaoqiang is a piece of shit, he's nothing but old. Next Monday, Pan's surname is expected to be changed to Tianhe Pan haha. Wu Yi clicked on the news related to Pan Minman and frowned immediately. Under the high-powered camera of the media, Pan Minman's face, which was still so beautiful that it took one's breath away, looked exhausted, like a withering flower. After reading the news, Pan Minman mainly announced that she had already found an investment fund, and was currently going through the normal process. She asked everyone not to panic, and said things like the Pan family had no problems. Wu Yi's forehead was slightly sweaty. Did Pan Minman trust her so much? The son of the damned Pan family, Tang Jiawei, suddenly cursed. What's going on? Wu Yi looked at Tang Jiawei in surprise. What else can you do if you've been ripped off? Wu Yi thought of what Zhou Rui had said and wondered, could it be that you were also involved in the private placement? This time it was Tang Jiawei's turn to be surprised. I didn't think you knew about the private placement. It's not a secret, is it? Wu Yi shrugged. I'm curious. If you don't introduce everyone, how can you be united to rip off such a large sum? Damn it, I want to swing a barbell and kill Pan Xiaozhe and Pan Xiaoqian when I think about it. Tang Jiawei cursed at the screen and said, before, Pan Xiaozhe and Pan Xiaoqian were also in our group. At the beginning of the year, Pan Xiaozhe suddenly came forward and said that the ban had now been lifted and the catering industry was fully recovering, so they wanted to internally raise a certain amount of money at a very attractive price. However, according to the regulations, the capital had to be locked for 6 months. At that time, everyone was actually quite optimistic about the recovery of the catering industry, and coupled with the very low price they set, so many people invested a sum. Unexpectedly, at that time, Pan Go owed 30 million from gambling and couldn't pay it back. He was afraid to tell his family and couldn't borrow any money, so he came up with this idea. We don't know how much of the 700 million we invested in the private placement has been moved. He not only cheated his family, but also cheated all of us. Well, it seems to me that you are the most excited. Did you invest the most? I'm not worth a damn. I only invested 30 million. The majority of the money came from Ding Xiaozi. He alone took up 200 million. Of course, now he is the one who has lost the most. Wu Yi swiped the news, but it seems that she didn't see any relevant news. Don't swipe anymore. Those who have lost money don't have the energy to talk. Those people in the group were looked down upon at the time and were not qualified to participate in the fixed increase. Now, on the contrary, they have become the lucky ones. Chapter 63. Please contact me when you have raised 500 million. Wu Yi said, from what I've heard, Pan Xiao's reputation seemed to be bad. Why did you trust him so much back then? Tang Jiawei gave a bitter smile, his face full of helplessness. So you can say it's stupid. At the time, Pan Xiao's publicity was that Pan Minmin was going to marry Lan Haoyu. You have to know that the Lan family is a shareholder of the rice platform, and the Pans are an old brand. No matter how much they fall, there is a certain brand barrier. Their problem is that they have not kept up with the development of the internet, and they have also encountered the flu, which is why they are in the situation they are in today. Pan Xiao's reason was that the group needed a lot of money to develop online, so he made such a big concession. Everyone heard this and, after asking around, found out that Lan family had indeed proposed to Pan family, and Lan Haoyu was also shouting everywhere that he would only take Pan Minmin. So everyone got so excited that they jointly bought the 200 million shares. Who knew that he embezzled 120 million, and then Pan Guofu pledged the shares to protect this idiot from a violent thunderstorm. Ha, so he organized an auction? Wu Xiao, are you interested? Quite interested. I want to go and see the fun. I don't know if I'm qualified. Wow, what are you talking about? If you go, a Koenigsegg driving into the venue will boost morale for our own Luzhou second-generation circle and add luster to our humble abode. Well, in fact, there are many second-generation circles in Fujian. Pan Xiaoza, that dog, cheated everyone in the Luzhou circle. Now a bunch of people are waiting to see our joke tomorrow night. If you go, you can still help support the atmosphere. Where is it on Friday? It's at the villa on the hill, next to the Guofeng Conference Center. It's Mr. Ding's property. You can come and have fun even if you don't take any pictures. We've invited a lot of pretty girls that day. Oh, yes, Zheng Yushi will be there too. Haha, that's not important. We'll talk about it then. The two of them stood at the reception desk chatting for a while. After a brief inquiry at the reception desk, Tang Jiawei took a bottle of mineral water and handed it to Wu Yi, saying, Sophie is in the VLP room at the end there. Class should be almost over. You sit here for a while, and we'll meet up then. Okay, you go ahead. Wu Yi sat down in the lounge area next to the reception desk. Unconsciously, he opened his phone and clicked on Pan Minmin's chat box. He didn't care at all about the Pan group. He did care about the girl. Wu Yi had already regarded Pan Minmin as his woman. The chatbox message was still stuck on the emoticon he had sent the last time they added each other as friends. Being polite didn't seem to help. I just read the news. You look like you're about to die. Don't forget, you're selling me for 5 years, and I don't want an unhealthy you. Instant message, got 500 million? What are you doing? Processing documents. You got 500 million? Stand up, take a couple of steps, pour a glass of water, take a picture of yourself, and send it to me. Include the picture of you standing up. Then I'll tell you some good news. As soon as the message was sent, the phone rang. When she looked at the screen, she saw that it was a call from Pan Minmin. Wu Yi hung up directly. She then directly started a WeChat video call. After thinking for a long time, Pan Minmin still answered the video call. It seemed that the phone was placed at an angle. In the video, Pan Minmin was sitting at a desk. Today, she was wearing a beige little business suit. She was still wearing a pair of black-framed glasses on her delicate face. It was estimated that her hair had been tied up for work convenience. There are many piles of documents on the table, and Pan Minmin is quickly taking some printed documents and looking at something on the dual-screen monitor on the table. Seeing the video on the street, Pan Minmin glanced at her phone and gave a crooked, sneering smile. Hey, isn't this the distinguished Koenigsegg owner, Wu Xiao, who spent 20 million yuan on a house for his girlfriend? Which woman is he busy with? How can he find time to chat with me? Wu Yi grinned, looking in good spirits. Miss Pan Minmin, look at you, you're becoming more and more aware of being the second wife. Pan Minmin's eyebrows furrowed, what? Wu Yi laughed. Look at you, you've started to audit your man's assets and you're also tolerant of other women. Ding. The video was disconnected. Wu Yi laughed, and called again, and it was connected. Look at you, I was just praising you, why are you suddenly not cute? I didn't find another woman, I was just at the gym. Wu Yi said, and then pointed the camera at the gym. Humph. Although Pan Minmin snorted, she still stuck her head out and looked carefully at the screen of her phone. There were still quite a few people exercising on the fitness equipment in the screen. What's the good news? Wu Yi tilted her head towards the sofa. Go get a glass of water, walk around for a bit, and let me know when you're done. I'm hanging up. Hang up, I'll use 500 million to bid for you at the auction on Friday. Really 500 million? Pan Minmin's face showed a hint of excitement. Wu Yi smiled slightly, just do as I say. I'll do it. Pan Minmin got up, turned the camera a bit, and showed a large office with one half visible in the frame. Wu Yi was amused. The girl really did meticulously follow his instructions. She went to the corner of the office and got a glass of water from the water dispenser, took a few sips, then started walking around the office, doing some stretching exercises. After about 3 or 4 laps, she returned to her desk. Is that okay? Yes. So, 500 million? Wu Yi thought about it. Pan Minmin's desire for money was so high, so if he transferred 200 million to her, wouldn't it just double to 400 million? If I transfer another 500 million, I'll have 1 billion, right? Pan Minmin's living conditions and her desire for money should be able to withstand large transfers, right? If there's nothing else, I'll hang up. Wu Yi smiled. I have 200 million in my account, but my card is a bit special and has some restrictions, so I don't know how much I can transfer to you. Beep. The screen went black and the video call was terminated. WeChat message, I'm busy, next time please gather 500 million before contacting me. Damn it. So arrogant. Wu Yi rolled his eyes and said, you want it or not? Do I have to beg you for money? At that moment, the receptionist suddenly said, Fei Fei is done with class. Wu Yi looked up and saw Sophie and a slightly overweight middle-aged man at the end of the gym pushing open the door to a room. Perhaps it was inconvenient. Sophie wasn't wearing yoga clothes today, but a loose-fitting pink tracksuit. Wu Yi smiled slightly. Seeing Sophie gave him a comfortable feeling, something no other girl could bring him. As he approached, he heard the two talking. Coach Fei, I have a membership at Lujuj. How about you go out for a late-night snack? The middle-aged man looked at Sophie's delicate face with a burning light in his eyes. Sophie looked around the gym at the people working out with an expressionless face, deliberately not looking at the middle-aged man, and said in a light tone, no thanks, I never eat late-night snacks. I'm still very grateful to Mr. Wang for renewing my 10-lesson package today. Coach Fei, you're being polite. We're old acquaintances. After taking your lessons, I feel a lot more energetic in the lower back. How about this, I'll buy you tea, and I'd also like to find out how you renewed your 50-lesson package. The middle-aged man asked persistently. No, I already have an appointment. Chapter 64, Lan Myohan vs. Pan Minmin. In the past, when Sophie heard that someone wanted to learn about the big class package, although she would not really go out to dinner or tea with the other person, she would still say something nice with a face full of excitement to see if the other person really meant it. Now she was not interested at all. Because Tang Jiawei had just told her that Wu Yi was already waiting for her at the door. The middle-aged man was left with no fun. Just as he was about to say something else, he heard a voice in his ear. This beautiful coach, my golden retriever has recently learned how to make spicy crayfish. Do you want to come to my house and try some? Both were taken aback. Sophie looked at the person who had come and immediately beamed, really? Then we must go and have a look. Middle-aged man? Sophie walked up and put her arms around Wu Yi's neck, and kissed her on the right cheek, saying, just wait a minute, I'll go and change. Okay, Wu Yi nodded. After saying that, Sophie quickly left, leaving the middle-aged man on one side full of questions. Golden retriever will make crayfish? Wu Yi looked at him sympathetically. In fact, golden retrievers have a very high IQ. Why don't you train one too, to be a hairy crab or something? You see, girls like novelty. 10 minutes later. Sophie changed into the chocolate truffle-colored halter-pleated dress that Wu Yi bought her last night. The skirt gently swayed, looking light and elegant. Under the dress, Sophie's shapely waist was perfectly displayed. The most stunning thing was that Sophie was wearing a Balenciaga under her skirt. Wu Yi was stunned for a moment, watching the reaction of the man in front of her. Sophie secretly felt happy, glad that she had consulted with Anan today and not wasted her afternoon sneaking to Balenciaga to buy the props. Does it look good? Sophie's heart was pounding. Wu Yi nodded, walked over with a wicked smile, put his arm around Sophie's waist, leaned her against the bar and kissed her deeply, saying, "You look good in anything." Sophie's face flushed, and she saw in the corner of her eye that Tong Jiawei had originally been coming towards them, but after taking a few steps, he had made a sharp turn and gone to the meeting room, where the lights were not even on. Go, go, go. Sophie pulled Wu Yi up and fled from the aerobics club again, as if they were flying. Is this your car? When they arrived in the basement, it was Sophie's turn to cover her mouth in surprise at the Koenigsegg in front of her. They had an intense discussion in the morning about the ownership of this car in their group of girlfriends. Anan, as the expert, looked up the value of this car and found that it was as high as 30 million. You know about this car? Wu Yi asked. Sophie nodded and said, "Actually, it was my girlfriend who posted it in the group today." Your girlfriend? She's the flight attendant you were talking to yesterday. Sophie said this, and suddenly turned around and hugged Wu Yi's neck. Wu Yi was surprised. What's wrong? Sophie whispered, "Cat brother, my roommate suddenly told me tonight that she is moving out in a few days. I was thinking, when she moves out, I will rent the whole house and turn her room into an esports room for you to use, okay?" Esports room? Wu Yi was embarrassed. You guys have already discussed this, haven't you? The content is the same. Hey, yeah, didn't you say that it's every guy's dream to have their own esports room? Haha, who said that? My dream is to have a golden retriever that can make lobster. Oops, Sophie stamped her foot in anger. I'm being serious, and now there's a large dog ban in Luzhou, so it's not convenient to keep one in the suite. Oh, then buy a big villa and keep two of them, one that can make lobster and one that can make hairy crabs. Wu Yi shrugged. Splutter, great, remember to get a villa with a river view. I can go running by the river when I'm free. That's good, and I can walk the dog. After the two got in the car, Sophie was naturally talked about life for a while. After a while, the Koenigsegg roared out of the basement of the Jinding building and roared down the streets of Lujian City. Jinding Plaza, the general manager's office behind Lujiang. Pan Minmin pressed the WeChat button with a click. Her face returned to its usual calm. She looked over to the other side of the room, where a girl in a blue denim jacket, equally beautiful and charming, was sitting. If Wu Yi were here, she would be shocked. The girl was Lan Miaohan. Lan Miaohan watched Pan Minmin and Wu Yi's video quietly, and heard every word of their conversation. Lan Miaohan gave a small smile. What, showing off their love? Since when did the number one beauty in Luzhou become someone's second wife? Pan Minmin's face was cold as ice, and she gave Lan Miaohan a faint look and said, I'm just telling you, I'm not like you say, I'm already on the verge, so I won't accept your proposal. Our Lan family and the Pans will merge our resources to set up a new high-end catering company. It seems to me like the better way out at the moment. Then the Lan family took control of the company, first using the brand and reputation of Lujiang, and slowly proclaiming to customers that Lujiang is a sub-brand of your Lan's Catering. After 2 or 3 years, when everyone only remembers Lan's Catering, they will accept financing terms that we simply cannot accept. As long as we give up financing, Pan's equity in the hands of the company will continue to be diluted, and eventually Pan's will be slowly kicked out. As a result, there will be no more Pan's Group in the market of Fujian province. Pan Minmin smiled indifferently. Miss Lan, we studied the case of Penguin Group and Taojin Group's capital erosion a lot when we were at university. No. Lan Miaohan took a small sip of the tea on the table and shook her head. Miss Pan, I don't mean to underestimate you. The title of Iron Lady of Baman is well known. I'm just giving a more reasonable plan based on the current situation. You should have heard the recording of Lan Haoyu's phone call. He's like a mad dog, isn't he? He'll crash the market tomorrow. Even if you have the ability to eat up all his stocks, what then? Even if you force the process through to the auction, what then? As far as I know, you don't even have the 200 million in your hands. No, and even if you get into the auction, you won't have the strength to compete with me. And for me, I also think that it is better to cooperate with you than with Lan Haoyu. I look forward to your becoming the first general manager of our new company after it is established. I believe that with our joint efforts, Baman High-End Catering will definitely be able to break out of Fujian and enter the national market. Pan Minmin shook her head. Ms. Lan, from a business perspective, I admit that what you said is very attractive, but I will not give up my grandfather's hard work until the last minute. Chapter 65, A house needs to be versatile to be suitable for hiding a beauty. Pan Minmin's expression did not show any hesitation, and when Lan Miahan saw it, she frowned, and the atmosphere in the office suddenly fell into silence. You believe in him so much? Lan Miahan suddenly asked. Pan Minmin's face twitched. She knew who Lan Miahan was talking about. Lan Miahan stared into Pan Minmin's eyes and said, just from your video, he lied to you about at least two things. One is that he wasn't at the gym to work out, but to meet that woman he brought last night, Sophie, the fitness instructor, who you also met. What's the other one? Pan Minmin said indifferently, her face expressionless. Lan Miahan's brows tightened. The other one is that he lied to you when he said he had 200 million in his account. I checked his bank app yesterday, and there was only just over 10 million in his account. Oh, I see. Pan Minmin nodded and picked up a document on the table. Lan Miahan looked at Pan Minmin, who was intently reading the document, and opened her mouth. Don't you have the slightest desire to ask? Pan Minmin paused for a moment and said, why can you see his bank app? Pa. Lan Miahan was choked by the tea and looked at Pan Minmin in disbelief. Isn't your focus a bit strange? He and I are classmates. The other day, everyone was curious about the meal on the table, so he showed it to everyone. With that, Pan Minmin looked down at her documents again. Lan Miahan got up directly in a bad mood. Miss Pan, my plan for tonight is valid until 9:15 tomorrow morning. If I don't receive a call from you before the call auction, then I will choose to cooperate with Lan Haoyu. Previously, it was because Lan Haoyu was against me that you were able to survive until now. If I put aside my prejudices and cooperate with him, then you won't be able to resist. You are so afraid of entering the auction, it should be that you don't have 700 million in your own hands to bid for the equity. It seems that the family funds you have received are not very much. Pan Minmin, who had been reading the documents, suddenly said. Lan Miahan's expression froze, and a sneer appeared on her face. Pan Dazhen, do you think you are the only one who can find a man to borrow money from? After Lan Miahan finished speaking, she left the office without looking back. Looking at Lan Miahan's back, Pan Minmin picked up her phone and flipped through the few lines of dialogue between herself and Wu Yi a few times. Is he worried about my health? A strange feeling rose in Pan Minmin's heart. Thank you. Two characters were entered into the input box, but she rubbed her thumb and forefinger together as hard as she could, but she just couldn't type out those two characters. President Pan. Xiao Yi pushed the door open with a start, his face full of surprise. Pan Minmin was startled and quickly hit the delete key a few times to turn off the phone screen. What's wrong? Pan Minmin asked. Xiao Yi shook the file in his hand and said excitedly, General Manager Pan, the Burj Al Arab Hotel has responded, agreeing to cooperate with us in depth on high-end Chinese cuisine, and will provide us with $30 million in advance for menu development. Really? Yes. Pan Minmin quickly took the document from Xiao Yi's hand, looked at it several times, and her face showed a surprised expression. But in a moment, a plan immediately came to her mind. Are the people from the publicity department still here? Yes, General Manager Pan, according to your instructions, everyone is ready today. Very good, now call everyone over. Gemini Hotel. The sound of rain falling on the bathroom floor could be heard. Wu Yi was a little tired, lying on the big bed, checking his phone, not even bothering to transfer money from the platform. After all, a few hours ago, in the same bed, he had just had a happy time with Anan. He checked. WeChat. Anan, hey, honey, I'm home and I'm all alone in the empty house. Are you a good boy? Wu Yi grinned. Why didn't you stay at the hotel for one more night before leaving? Cut, how can I take Fei Fei with me if you're still here? Wu Yi felt a little embarrassed. Anan knew so quickly that he had brought Sophie here. He was embarrassed, but he still wanted to save face. It's okay, we can be together. Yay, really? I'll take a taxi over there now, I have the room card anyway, I heard that threesomes are more fun. He, I'm just kidding, I'm going to wash my face, love you. Wu Yi looked at the bathroom and wiped the sweat from his forehead. But Sophie's words did remind him of something crucial. He now had 4 subcards for this VIP card. One was for Pan Minmin, one was for Anan, and one was for Sophie that night. Together with Zhang Yushi's, that meant that all 4 girls had a shared card for his room. It would take some coincidence, and it's exciting just thinking about it. A hotel is not a long-term solution after all. You need to buy more houses to hide your beloved in a golden house. Sophie likes a villa with a river view? Where is the river in Luzhou? Now that he has 200 million in his hands, if he wants to get more rebates, he needs to get more than just an ordinary villa. Wu Yi thought about it. Today happens to be the day he joined the second generation group of Tang Jiawei, so he'll ask around. Wu Yi directly sent a message in the second generation group. Does anyone know about villas with a river view in Luzhou? Found Wu Xiao. Wow, Wu Xiao is trending. Good evening, Wu Xiao. Wu Yi, good evening, everyone. Although the group is full of second-generation members, there is still a difference between second-generation members. Wu Yi's identity tag in the group is that he drives a Koenigsegg and has 500 million in family mission funds to start an investment company. Even if he were to be placed in the whole country, he would still be considered a member of the top second-generation group. So everyone is still relatively polite. Mr. Wu, where is the river in Lujiang? If you want to see water, how about a sea view villa, a villa on the lake, or a villa in the bay? All of them have something to do with water, right? Wu Yi, do you have any good villas to recommend? Ding Shi, what is Mr. Wu's budget? Oh, shit, Ding has spoken. It's been a while since Ding spoke. Wu Yi, at Ding Shi no more than 200 million. A row of exclamation marks. I'm about to fall to my knees. I'm already on my knees. Me too. With a budget of 200 million, you still have to say that it won't exceed 200 million. Do we have a house in Lujiang with a budget of 200 million? Damn, I was just about to introduce the Seaview Villa that's for sale in my family, but now I can't even say it. Ding Sai sends a private message. Wu Xiao, is the budget really that high? The full amount? Of course. Do you have any recommendations? That's funny, I'm in urgent need of money recently and I've just come up with a villa, but it definitely isn't a river view, it's a villa on the lake. There's only one lake in Lujiang, you should know about it. I know, it's the most beautiful city center. Yes, that's the place. I have a villa there that covers an area of almost 950 square meters. They handed over the villa in 18 years, and I only finished renovating it in 21 years. It's relatively new, with all the facilities you'd expect. The current listing price is 1.7, so if you're interested and can pay in full, I'll give you a good price. How's 1.6 sound? After Ding Shurha finished speaking, he sent a few more photos. Wu Yi briefly looked at it. Of course he knew about the Lujiang Lake Villa district, but Tianyu Lake Villa was the king of lake villas. Only a few dozen had been developed, and it was the most expensive villa district in Lujiang, with almost all the residents being either rich or powerful. Judging from the photos, the overall style of the villa is minimalist and monochromatic, with a very European and technological feel that is very much in line with young people's tastes. But there are really too few photos. These are the only photos I have. I don't have any on my phone. My secretary usually takes them. Why don't you come over when you're free and take a look? I can't just look at photos. Sure, give me your address. I should go over there tomorrow morning. I'll contact you before I go. No problem. Chapter 66, I just want to spend some money. What are you doing? Wu Yi discovered that Sophie had finished showering and came out of the bathroom at some point. She was not wearing the sexy pajamas that had seduced him last night, but a very ordinary pink nightdress, obviously meaning that she was ready to let herself go. Wu Yi smiled and patted the spot next to him, and Sophie obediently lay down. I just wanted to ask someone about the house, but then I remembered that there is no river in Luzhou. Sophie gave a start, sat up quickly, and a look of not knowing whether to laugh or cry spread across her face. Really? I was just saying that, who doesn't know that there are no rivers in Luzhou? You were just saying, I was listening carefully, the two things don't conflict. Sophie's heart warmed, and she knelt down next to Wu Yi's shoulder and kneaded it. Actually, I wasn't talking about a villa. When I was a child, a house in my hometown was right by the river. The river was so clean back then that we often raced to the river with buckets to catch baby crabs. Now it's so polluted that you can't see any crabs in the river anymore. Wu Yi lay down on the bed. Not to mention anything else, Sophie is truly a senior therapist, and her massage is countless times better than an Anne's blind squeezing. Wu Yi had a bit of back pain, and when Sophie squeezed him, he felt a very comfortable feeling. Hearing Sophie say that, Wu Yi could only mumble in reply. It's fine, I've got a house viewing tomorrow, if we don't like it, we can just keep looking. Sophie continued kneading while daydreaming. After a long while, she muttered to herself, actually, the size of the house doesn't matter, it's just that we have to be together, picking out the house together, picking out the decor together, picking out the furniture together. There was no response. Looking down, Wu Yi had fallen asleep. The next day, Wu Yi woke up close to 10 o'clock. Sophie was no longer there. She first picked up her phone and glanced at it. It was Chen's missed call again. The WeChat message, "There are still some problems with the quote, so I'll find some time to come today," made Wu Yi's head ache. This Chen was really a pain in the neck. She scrolled down the message. The message from Xiao Suzy was from a little after 8 o'clock. "Good morning, cat brother. I was really tired yesterday, so I went back to the dormitory and fell asleep on the bed. That's why I didn't reply to your message. I hope you're not angry." "I'm angry, so you have to wear the same clothes as the other day and dance." Quick reply, "Poor thing, really? But I want to see you dance, so you'll definitely dance for me." "Really? Let's do it now." "Oh, I can't do it now, but how about tonight? I'm still working part-time." "Part-time job?" Picture *1. Ah, it looks good. Wu Yi glanced at it. It was a full-body photo of Xiao Suzy wearing a light green cheongsam. Xiao Suzy stood in front of the camera, her hair gently pulled up, with a few strands of hair hanging around her neck. Her eyes were as bright as autumn water, and the cheongsam was cut appropriately. The whole body was wrapped just right, which fully revealed the curves of Xiao Suzy's tall figure. "Did you go out and take artistic photos?" "No, a cheongsam brand hired me to be their model." "It looks good." Wu Yi's praise was heartfelt. "I have to say, Xiao Suzy is really talented in dressing up in ancient costumes, with a special sense of a Jiangnan beauty." Wu Yi suddenly remembered a passage from The Plea for the Reluctant Officer that she had read before. "Her waist is as slender as a willow, her arms as fresh as lotus roots, her eyes bright and teeth white, her complexion clear as crystal, her lips like red wine, her smile charming, and her eyes full of expectation." That's probably what a Jiangnan girl looks like. How can you stay in a place with such expensive housing prices if you're not diligent? Why don't I buy it for you? Really? Really? On the other side, Qin Xuanlu was sitting on the arch bridge waiting for the photographer to set up the tripod. When she saw Wu Yi's message, she was so shocked that she almost dropped the fan in her hand into the river. Is he hinting that he wants to support me? Qin Xuanlu swallowed hard and replied, "Cat, I'm so happy you said that about me, but I'd better get back to work. Talk to you later, cat." Wu Yi just smiled when she saw the message and didn't reply. She washed up briefly. When she opened the bedroom door, she heard soft music playing outside. Wu Yi saw Sophie in her pajamas doing yoga on the carpet by the window. "You're up already? You should have gone to bed later than me last night, so why are you up so early?" Sophie's face showed a hint of embarrassment. In fact, she had been thinking about buying a house last night, and she didn't know if it was because she was too excited or what, but she couldn't fall asleep until the middle of the night. "There's some milk, fried eggs and oatmeal toast on the table that I packed in the dining room. Do you want some?" "What, you can even take food back from the hotel cafeteria?" Wu Yi sat on the sofa in the lobby and picked up a piece of fried egg and took a bite. Sophie was happy when she saw Wu Yi eating breakfast and laughed. "So it's not possible after all. I can see your VIP card, and it was even served by a waiter. I can feel a little bit of the feeling of being distinguished." "Come on, what distinguished or not distinguished, it's all about the money. What's a little breakfast?" "You eat first, I'm going to take a shower." "Well." Wu Yi drank some milk while opening the newspaper. As soon as he opened the newspaper, he froze. Today's local news was full of news about pans. The top headline reads, "Suspected collective strike by employees of Pans Group's flagship brand Luzhouge demanding wages." The news roughly says that a while ago, there was an incident of a store of Guwei Hot Pot going out of business and demanding wages, and today, even the flagship brand of the group has gone out of business, indicating that there are serious problems within Pans. There are more than 10 similar negative news articles about Pans. Wu Yi also accidentally found a photo of the strike, and the leader of the strike is Yi? I thought the business of Lujuge was booming? With doubts, she flipped through the local news interface twice. An eye-catching local headline caught her eye. Lan Haoyu, deputy general manager of Tianhao Media, publicly stated that due to conflicts in lifestyle, he will no longer pursue Pan Minmin, the Pearl of Pans, and the powerful marriage between the two families is thus broken up. Wu Yi frowned and quickly clicked into the news. The news roughly said that Lan Haoyu had publicly accused Pan Minmin of having an unseemly private life, frequenting nightclubs, and going to hotels with strange men. The Lan family had a pure family tradition, and he could not accept an unchaste woman into the family. There was also an accompanying photo, and Wu Yi realized that. It was indeed a photo of himself taking Pan Minman out of a bar. However, in fact, Pan Minman was bowing her head at that time, and it was not possible to tell that it was Pan Minman herself. Bullshit! Wu Yi cursed, and a raging fire of anger flared up in his heart. He directly dialed Zhou Rui's phone. Boss, what do you need? I'm now handling the relevant procedures for the early morning venture normally. Have you read today's news about pans? I want to teach Lan Haoyu a lesson. Is there a more painful way? The boss wants to help pans? But from an investment perspective, this is not a good investment. Don't worry about the gains and losses, I just suddenly want to spend some money. Boss, you're really heartless. If we don't consider the losses, it seems that the funds in Lan Haoyu's hands came from a share pledge loan from his own Tianhe Media. And today, there's a rumor in the circle that Lan Haoyu is also preparing to use the leverage of doubling margin trading to wait for Ms. Lan to successfully merge and acquire pans and then sell the stocks while the price is rising to make a big profit. At this time, if there is a sum of money that can eat up his stocks, that would be very interesting. How many chips do you estimate he has in his hand? I can only estimate that, based on the amount of money he previously borrowed, plus the estimated amount of margin trading, it is around 200 million. Okay, that's it for now. After hanging up the phone, Sophie had finished showering and came out. Wu Yi smiled slightly at Fei Fei and asked, "Do you have a stock account?" Chapter 67 Lan Haoyu. Lujiang Sinan Business District, 27th floor, Tianhe Media Headquarters Building. This is an office of about 200 square meters, full of a sense of technology. The interior decoration is simple and bright, mainly gray and white, which looks very modern and fashionable. A large black ebony desk occupies the center of the room, with an Apple computer and several exquisite stationery on the desktop. The metal casing of the Apple computer shimmers with a cold light in the light, contrasting sharply with the surrounding environment. Sitting in front of the desk is a man in his 20s, wearing a Versace suit, black leather shoes, and his hair neatly combed back. The man's face is a little pale, obviously weak from overindulgence in alcohol. Lan Haoyu, 28 years old, the eldest grandson of the Lan family, is the deputy general manager of Tianhe Media. He is Lan Miaohan's biggest rival in the Lan family. His father is the second son of Lan Tianhe. And Lan Miaohan's father is the eldest son of Lan Tianhe. Just then, the office door was knocked on. Lan Haoyu frowned and subconsciously looked at the computer screen. On the screen was the interface of a securities software, and on the interface was the stock price of the Pan Group. The stock price of Pans had already been fiercely traded at the opening of the morning. Now the stock price has been completely suppressed to the limit down position. He already had in his hands the value of 150 million shares to maintain the stock price in Pan Xiao's sell-off, and then he doubled the leverage to borrow 50 million worth of shares. So he had a total of 200 million worth of chips in multiple accounts. This morning, under the operation of the team, a little capital was used to slightly stretch the stock price at the opening. Because of the stability of the stock price in the previous few days, many investors thought it was time to buy at the bottom, so now just a slight increase in capital would attract a bunch of retail investors. After luring them for more than 10 minutes and finding that the pending orders had reached a certain level with no more increase, they directly used the margin account to violently suppress the price, coupled with today's news, creating the illusion of a sudden crash for retail investors. As a result, there were more than 20 million retail investors waiting to flee from the 100 million in short-selling positions. In order to prevent the remaining retail investors from panicking and fleeing, Pan Minman's side was forced to start a defensive battle with his funds at the 2.5 position. Lan Haoyu was still slightly smug about this move, because not only had he sold the short-selling positions at a relatively high price, he had also completely wiped out Pan Minman's funds. And with the help of retail investors, in addition to the more than 40 million worth of stocks that were being sold at a loss, he also had 50 million worth of stocks in his hands that could be used to suppress the market. The Pan family had been falling for months, and the stock price was already a penny stock. So he was very confident that he could use the remaining stocks to suppress the market for 3 more trading days, and then buy back the stocks at a low price the following Monday to close the position. Then he just had to wait for the news of the Lan family's merger and acquisition to come out and the stock price to skyrocket. His team has calculated that if this operation goes well, he will be able to pocket at least 100 million yuan in profits. 100 million yuan. Lan Haoyu was excited just thinking about it. Under the strict management of the patriarch Lan Tianhe, everyone in the Lan family can only live on a little pocket money before they take charge of an area. As the vice president of Tianhe Media, his annual pocket money plus salary and bonuses is only about 10 million yuan. Thinking about this, he gritted his teeth in hatred. The entire Lan family only has Lan Miaohan as the one person not subject to this restriction. Before she even graduated from university, Lan Tianhe went against the majority opinion and gave Lan Miaohan the family's high-end catering business, and even let her have management control of it. Not only that, because of the old man's favoritism, he even used a large sum of Tianhe Group's funds at once to let Lan Miaohan complete the acquisition of the pans. I remember a few years ago, after I graduated, I wanted to buy a Ferrari LaFerrari, and I was directly given a good scolding by the old man. He cursed him for being a spendthrift. Now Lan Miaohan is not a spendthrift? Every day, he is hard-pressing Pan's chips in the stock market, and that is not being a spendthrift? Damn it, if you have money, who can't do it? Give me unlimited money, and I'll even buy you Nvidia. Lan Haoyu became more and more angry as he thought about it. Knock, knock, knock. There was another knock on the door outside the office, along with a voice. Haoyu, it's me. Come in. As soon as the words left his mouth, a slightly overweight man in his 40s with gold-rimmed glasses and a straight suit walked steadily in, holding a document. The man who came in was named Lu Haitao, the other deputy general manager of Tianhe Media. He had originally worked as the director of the media department and the director of the investment department at Tianhe Group. He had been with Tianhe Group for more than 10 years and was the right-hand man of Lan Jinyan, Lan Haoyu's father. Later, he was sent by the group to establish Tianhe Media, and he was originally the general manager of Tianhe Media. Now, Lan Jinran has even let Lu Haitao step down to the position of deputy general manager to assist his son. Lu Haitao glanced at the woman next to Lan Haoyu, who was nervously straightening her clothes, and frowned. But it was just a moment, and his gaze turned back. Although he was not at all surprised by this scene. But he really didn't like Lan Haoyu's endless attempts to seduce the company's new talent. It wasn't that he was particularly righteous, but many of the company's female artists were also his guests in bed for a little resource. But the new talent is different. After all, they represent the future of the company, and it is very likely that one of them will become a big success and bring performance to the company. The new seedlings are young and their worldviews are not yet stable. Furthermore, they have not yet been in the industry and their psyches have not yet been tempered. When something like this happens, there are only two possibilities. One is to be strong and die rather than submit, to terminate the contract and never enter the industry again. The other is to submit, to breed the mentality of being the boss's woman, or to no longer care about small favors. But either way, they are already ruined. Lan Haoyu has this problem. He has a soft spot for new talent and will do whatever it takes to get them. In the past 2 years, he has ruined a lot of the company's seeds, so he has no choice but to focus on cultivating male talent in the next few years. After sorting out his emotions, he handed Lan Haoyu the file in his hand and said, Haoyu, this is the news popularity data as of 10 o'clock. The news we created this morning about the breakup of the Lan and Pan families' marriage didn't even make the top 20, and after 8:30 it was completely overshadowed by the news about the Luozhaj workers demanding their wages. Uncle Lu, please sit down. Normally, if someone interrupts him in the middle of something, he'll definitely fly into a rage. However, Lu Haitao is a capable person who is close to his father's heart and has been praised by his grandfather many times. Lan Haoyu still respects this core member, and it was also he who instructed that anything today must be reported directly. His secretary on the side coldly said, What are you daydreaming about? Hurry up and make Uncle Lu an Americano. Chapter 68, Variables. Looking at the female secretary's flustered face, he exited the office slightly nervous. Lan Haoyu's face showed a little smugness. He liked this raw feeling. Then he smiled and took over Lu Haitao's report. After just a few glances, he frowned and said, Have you found out who sent the articles about the wage claims this morning? Lu Haitao said, I have. Almost all of them were from employees of Luozhaj, and they were all senior employees. I have read all the articles and there is no sign of a professional writer. The contributors are indeed real. Lu Haitao paused for a moment, took the document from Lan Haoyu's hands, flipped to a page with a timestamp, and continued, But look here, they almost all submitted their manuscripts at the same time and to our Tianhe Media, but not to any other media. I think someone must have deliberately promoted this. Could it be the work of that woman Lan Miaohan? Lan Haoyu wondered. I'm not sure, but according to an insider at Tianhe Catering, Miss Lan hasn't been seen in the office for a week. Lu Haitao flipped through his phone messages and shook his head. Then he said sternly, is that agreement really tacitly approved by the old man? Lan Haoyu's eyes widened. He said, of course. I used my resources to help her keep the price below 2.5 yuan so she could get the Pans Group. Then at the board meeting, she got her father to vote for my appointment as CEO of Tianhe Media. The old man was the witness. How could this have gone ahead without the old man's approval? It's possible that Lu Haitao said that I have recently heard that Miss Lan is poaching the chefs and long-term employees of Luhai Pavilion. She should be asking those employees to do it, which is also considered a big favor to us. In the morning, many retail investors sold their stocks, otherwise, just relying on short selling those stocks really wouldn't have calmed Pan down so quickly. It's just to help herself. Lan Haoyu sneered and said, never mind her, I want to see what else that bitch Pan Minmin can do. Otherwise, every day as soon as the market opens, I'll smash it down. I'll smash it down as soon as it opens, and I'll keep smashing it down until she kneels before me and calls me daddy. A crazed look appeared on Lan Haoyu's face. Lu Haitao frowned, ignoring the nonsense Lan Haoyu was talking about, and said, Haoyu, although the method is feasible, there is a huge problem. If a sudden influx of capital appears in the market or from Pan Minmin, and it directly eats up all our stocks, or pulls the stock price down, our losses will be huge, and we may not even have enough funds to buy back the bonds next Monday. Where will the capital come from? Do you think there are still banks or families willing to lend them money? Lan Haoyu gave a sinister smile. If Pan really had another 200 million to spend, why would Pan Xiaojia have to sell his stocks to pay back the 80 million loan from the supplier of the Bone Flavor hot pot restaurant? The money that Pan Minmin had was also from selling her house and car. I don't even know why she was still obsessed with going to auctions. You can't even win a price war, so what good would going to auctions do? At that moment, the phone rang. Lan Haoyu glanced at the phone and a slight smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. It was Lan Myohan. A rare guest is here. Lan Haoyu proudly waved his phone at Lu Haitao and laughed. My cousin never calls me, even yesterday, she had to be dragged by Grandpa before she agreed to connect with me. I guess she was moved by my superb decision-making this morning. A nearly untraded stock with almost no market makers, a mere few hundred million in short-selling hedging, how can this be considered superb decision-making? Lu Haitao sighed in his heart, but still reminded him. Lan Xiao, it's better to listen to what Miss Lan has to say. Miss Lan's personality makes people uneasy when she calls at a time like this. Lan Haoyu froze for a moment, quickly gathering his emotions, and picked up the phone. My dear cousin, what wind could blow you to call me? But I still want to thank you for helping me out so much this morning. What are you talking about? Ha? Lan Haoyu, I don't have time to listen to your nonsense. I advise you to look at Pan stocks. The phone hung up after a cold sentence was transmitted. Lan Haoyu was also stunned. Just then, there was a hurried knock at the door. Lu Haitao frowned. His gut feeling, formed over more than 10 years in the business world, told him that something was definitely wrong. Looking at Lan Haoyu, who was still in a daze, he quickly said, Come in. A figure ran in, panic-stricken, and it was a man in his 30s. Upon seeing him, Lan Haoyu was surprised to see Li Xiao, the person in charge of trading in his securities team. Li Xiao said anxiously, Lan Xiao. Something big has happened. Calm down and speak properly, what's the matter with you? Lu Haitao snapped. Yes. Li Xiao was extremely panicked. He had followed Lan Haoyu for many years and knew his character too well. When times were good, he was as gentlemanly as could be and extremely generous, but once in a downturn, he would become extremely irritable. He could only whisper timidly, just now, our pressure plate's 40 million worth of shares were split into 3 times and bought in for 30 million. Although it is still capped at the lower limit, I feel that something is a bit off. Is it Pan Minmin's trading team? Lan Haoyu finally reacted. Li Xiao shook his head. No, it's a personal account. Bastard. Lan Haoyu threw a stationary tube on the table at Li Xiao. Damn you, who told me that there would be no outside capital intervention in such a fairy stock as Pan's? Haoyu, don't panic in a crisis, find out more first. Lu Haitao hurriedly got up, patted Lan Haoyu on the shoulder, signifying that he should calm down, and then looked at Li Xiao and asked, Have you found out the source of the funds? Li Xiao wiped the sweat from his forehead. He has already checked again. The bad news is that the other party's LP is from Luzhong. I guess there are 2 possibilities. One is that a local family knows about this and wants to get a piece of the pie. The other is that, coincidentally, a big family saw Pan's stock unintentionally and may think that this is the bottom. Li Xiao smiled sheepishly. In fact, the second possibility is even harder than winning the lottery. He himself doesn't believe it. Impossible. Lu Haitao immediately shook his head and said, "The old master has already said hello about Lan's acquisition of Pans. A mere billion-scale merger and acquisition plan will not bring any benefits after the merger. No family will risk offending the old master to help Pans. So what should we do now?" Lan Haoyu paced around the office a little anxiously. Although 30 million is not a lot, it feels like a bad sign. Chapter 69. The way not to let it fall to the floor is to pull it up to the limit. Li Xiao felt a tingling in his scalp. Pan's penny stocks, which had almost no daily trading volume, were originally a one-on-one battle between a single dealer. The enemy and I were clear to each other. As long as the other side ran out of money, our side could infinitely suppress the market at a minimal cost. But now that there is outside capital, the variables are huge. In his mind, if this were a situation of securities trading, someone suddenly coming out to boost the stock price should most likely be removed from the market and observed for a period of time. If the booster has the strength, it is better to let him boost it. When the stock price rises, it is possible to trick a wave of retail investors in, and then it will be easy to suppress the market. However, he knew that this method would never be approved by Lan Haoyu. Lan Haoyu only had 3 days to meet the deadline, and compared to the money, the position of general manager of Tianhao Media was the key. Although he had no choice, he could only grit his teeth and say, "I have been observing this big investor." At the beginning, he first bought 1 million shares, and after about 5 minutes, he bought another 19 million shares. Then he bought 2 separate batches of 5 million shares. I guess the other party was probably also hesitant. After all, there are many people in the market betting on penny stocks. Anyone who is interested can actually find out that there is nothing fundamentally wrong with the operation of Pans. However, these kinds of investors are generally a bit anxious themselves. If we have a large amount of capital to pressure the market at this time, it will make the other party feel that the stock is not at its bottom, and it is possible that this will scare the other party away. Just do it. Lan Haoyu yelled and sold all the stocks we had bought earlier to maintain the stock price, scaring the fucker away. Li Xiao was speechless for a moment. "Lan Xiao, I was just analyzing, and I was talking about a possibility. What if the other party doesn't go along, and there's enough capital? After all, we only have 50 million chips left. Putting it in a stock like Pan's Ferry stock may be a relatively large amount of capital, but in the market, 50 million is not much. Haoyu, team leader Li is right. After all, there are still 3 days left. We can observe it first. If there is no follow-up capital entry, or perhaps not much capital entry, we can completely wait until the end of the trading day or tomorrow to lower the price again." Lu Haidao also felt that something seemed a bit off and quickly said, "If we can just keep the share price below 2.5 yuan before the market closes on Friday, wouldn't that be great? If I really give up, I don't know how those 2 bitches, Lan Miahan and Pan Minman, are going to laugh at me." Lan Haoyu gave Li Xiao a cold look. "What, my words don't count anymore?" Lu Haitao. Li Xiao immediately shuddered with fear and hurriedly scurried out of the office. Gemini Hotel. Right now, buy another 5 million. Wu Yi looked at the time and saw that exactly 10 minutes had passed. Sophie's delicate body leaned closely against Wu Yi's arms, trembling slightly. Hearing Wu Yi's words, she hurriedly fiddled with the interface. The 10 million odd Pan Group's pending orders instantly dropped to just over 6 million after the 5 million purchase. Sophie's face was slightly tense, and her originally lively eyes were now full of worry. After completing the operation, she flipped through the Pan's information again, and this time she even read through the news from a few years ago. She also clicked on the stock market several times. Unfortunately, no matter how she analyzed the stock market, the conclusion was that it had no investment value in the short, medium, or long term, and investors were advised to stay away and wait and see. Wu Yi looked at the system. The balance was over 300 million. Sure enough, if the original owner believes in her heart that this money is not hers, the degree of consumption of the desire for money is almost negligible. According to Zhou Rui's estimate, Wu Yi found that this morning at a price of 2.5 yuan, the seller had already sold 120 million yuan worth of chips, which meant that excluding the pressure plate on the disc, Lan Haoyu should still have about 50 million yuan worth of chips in his hands. The reason why he deliberately split it into 3 purchases at different times was to give the other party the appearance of not being very determined to buy on his side. However, he was not a powerful trader either, and his methods were crude, so it just depended on whether Lan Haoyu would take the bait. Hey, big sister, you've been diagnosing stocks dozens of times. If you can guess the rise and fall of stocks by diagnosing them, your account balance wouldn't have beaten 97% of the people who didn't buy any stocks this year with zero return. Wu Yi's hand gently stroked Sophie's waist. Sophie's fit body, accentuated by her clothes, felt very different. Sophie glared at Wu Yi and lightly tapped the hand that had already poked its way out from under her armpit and was messing with her breasts. Her tone was slightly helpless. I can't help being nervous. Who told you to turn over 100 million yuan of my retirement money for nothing, and then use it to buy these penny stocks? Her voice trembled slightly, and she was obviously very uneasy. The most money she had ever seen before was the 5 million meal cards that Wu Yi had charged the day before. Who would have thought that one day I would be like the dog trader I usually curse at, staring at stocks with 100 million in capital? 100 million, isn't it better to save it in the bank? Even if the interest rate isn't high now, it will still earn 8,000 to 9,000 a day. Wu Yi looked at Sophie's nervous expression with a smile, and thought she was especially cute. You don't understand, I like penny stocks. Penny stocks indicate great potential for appreciation, and the future is looking up. Like I believe you. Sophie pouted, snorted, and said, Pan Group, Pan Minman's Pan, do you think I'm blind? Ah. Wu Yi simply took Sophie in his arms and touched foreheads with her. What, is my little Sophie jealous? Oops, I'm talking about business. Sophie twisted her body, blushed and struggled a little, sat up. I don't really speculate in stocks, but I know that this drop in prices is obviously due to the news of the thunderstorm today. If you look at the trend, there was no trading before, and today there has been such a large outflow of capital, so it's hard to say whether it will continue to fall for a few more days. If you buy now, you'll lose a lot. Really? My Feifei is a stock god. Ah. Sophie suddenly let out a scream, startling Wu Yi. While Wu Yi was in a daze, Sophie quickly struggled to sit up in her arms, looking at the phone interface a little tangled, scratching her hair. Look, I was right, wasn't I? The price was originally over 6 million yuan, and now it's over 50 million. Wu Yi glanced at it and smiled slightly, hooked. You're laughing. Ah, it'll definitely stop falling tomorrow, and I'll lose 3 million yuan in my pension. Ha ha ha. Wu Yi laughed and rolled over, pinched Sophie's face and said, You're right, how can we let it stop falling? Come on, you still have 70 million in your account, buy it, and push it up. Sophie. Chapter 70, Don't Say You Don't Know Each Other. In the heart of Lujiang City, there is a huge artificial lake with a wide surface and rippling green waves, reflecting the blue of the sky like a mirror. The lake is surrounded by a carefully built lakeside walking trail, with trees and flowers on both sides, providing the public with a peaceful and elegant place to stroll. Around the lake, the regional development contracted by several well-known developers has completed villa areas of different styles, arranged in a staggered manner. These villas are of different styles, some with classical elegance, some with modern fashion. Each villa has been carefully designed and built by famous designers. Whether it is a single-family villa or a semi-detached villa, it has a spacious courtyard and terrace, so that residents can enjoy the lake view and natural scenery to their heart's content. The study on the second floor of one of the villas. The study is decorated in a very quaint style, with old wooden furniture and a huge bookcase full of all kinds of ancient books and antiques. The air is filled with a calm and elegant atmosphere. A beautiful figure is sitting in the study. Her silhouette is like that of an elegant princess, and her serene face is so captivating that one will fall in love at first sight. She stands out in the quaint surroundings. The owner of the figure is Pan Minman. In order to prevent the leak of news about the Dubai cooperation, today she has moved all of the securities operators and the publicity department to work in this villa. This villa, which covers an area of nearly 1,500 square meters, is one of the most expensive recuperation villa clusters in the heart of Lujiang Lake. The current construction cost is as high as 300 million yuan. There is a huge longevity stone at the entrance of the villa, on which is inscribed Wang Shiji's wind is light, clouds are gentle in Pan Yuan's handwriting. This is the residence of the founder of the Pan Group, Pan Yuan Guang, before his death, and it is also the last thought he left to Pan Min Min. Of course, this thought will only last a few more days. In order to participate in the auction on Friday, she has already submitted the villa to the auctioneer for asset valuation. If there is a lack of funds, generally, the auction will allow the assets to be used as collateral. The advantage is that you don't have to wait for a customer to buy the house, but the disadvantage is that the auction price will be 10% lower than the actual selling price. It's not that she doesn't want to sell, but it's the winter of the property market, and the economy is not good. There are many houses for sale in Villa Park, but unfortunately most of them are not in demand. She didn't sleep last night and arrived at the villa at just after 6 a.m. Very unusually, she didn't make herself a cup of coffee, but instead brewed a cup of tigouignon, which was once her grandfather's favorite. It was now 11:30 a.m., and the morning stock market had already closed. The tea on the desk had been cold for a long time. At this moment, Pan Minman's heart was filled with mixed emotions. On the screen was Pan's stock interface. Just 3 minutes before the morning session closed, a straight line shot up, directly pulling Pan's stock price from the limit down position to the limit up position, creating a floor-to-ceiling board. The scarlet 9.99% on the interface dazzled the eye and made the heart race. Although the funds to close the board were only a few million, as the second largest shareholder of Panshare, she herself had forgotten when Panshare's last trading limit was, 3 years ago, 4 years ago? Pan Minman could not figure it out. In this situation of Panshare, how could someone come in and use funds to pull a trading limit? Yes, the news of Lu Zhou demanding wages that was spread in the morning was actually her doing. After all, she had an extra $30 million in funds. The purpose of the rumor was to make Lan Haoyu hand over all the chips he had. For this reason, she also gave all employees 3 days off. Because if Lan Haoyu does not completely surrender his chips, in the end, these may very well become Lan Miahan's help. The only difference is that even if she will use $30 million to defeat Lan Haoyu, she will stop at most after pulling the stock price above $2.50. After all, if you want to attract capital, just attract the chips that have fallen to the bottom, and pulling the stock price up will be like slapping Lan Haoyu in the face? Is it really necessary? She is not interested anyway. Who is it? Could it be Lan Haoyu's enemy? The sudden change in the situation caused the cheers in the villa to directly reach Pan Minman's study. Recently, she has indeed put a lot of pressure on the team, especially the traders, who have to deal with the opponent's traders with limited funds. Knock, knock, knock. The door to the study was gently knocked on. Come in. Xiao Yi pushed the door open, his face beaming with joy. President Pan, you should have seen it too. Pan Minman nodded and said to everyone, you've all worked hard. I've invited the chef from Lujhaj to cook for us at noon. After a few days, I'll give you all a bonus. There's no rush. Xiao Yi laughed and then closed the door behind him, lowering his voice. My President Pan, Sister Minman, I really admire you. You've planted such a big clue, and yet you haven't even given me a hint. The Lan family should be completely baffled now. Pan Minman froze for a moment. Big clue? Xiao Yi handed Pan Minman a report and winked, stop pretending. Don't tell me you didn't know. Pan Minman took the report and glanced at it, and was instantly stunned. The report was a breakdown of the shareholders from their own securities company, which clearly showed the new shareholder, Sophie, with a 4.35% stake. She is. Pan Minman's mind immediately conjured up the athletic girl who had been by Wu Yi's side that day. Then a nameless anger welled up in her heart. You said you didn't have enough money, and in the blink of an eye you can come up with 100 million to buy stocks for other women? She had already forgotten that she had rejected the man that night. Yes, it was that girl next to Mr. Wu that night. Xia Ye. Because she was still in a daze of joy, she didn't see the expression on Pan Minman's face, and she continued talking to herself. I heard they all called her cat brother. When I saw him that day, I thought he was a poor guy who was faking it. Now I realize that he is a real playboy. Oh my god, Minman, he even took 100 million for you to fight against Lan Haoyu. Humph, Sophie, what does he have to do with it? Pan Minman snorted, and looked at the registration profile from the securities company. Sophie, 23 years old, occupation is a high-end fitness instructor. The same age as me. Don't care about this, a young master from a family like his would definitely be afraid of old man Lan, and even if he wasn't, he definitely wouldn't want to cause trouble in the family, so I think it would be more reasonable to use someone else's name to buy it. Yi Xia looked at Pan Minman strangely, and her face revealed an expression that said, I know. Sister Minman, don't tell me you two don't know each other? Chapter 71, Who is Brother Cat? I don't know. Wei. Pan Minman frowned, the scene from that night vividly playing out in her mind. She wasn't sure what she felt for Wu Yi, and she wasn't sure what kind of identity she should use to talk to him. Upon further thought, they weren't even lovers. Minmin, don't hide it, that day this cat guy came to our store and spent 10 million yuan for nothing. I knew there was something unusual going on. Without that 10 million yuan, Luju Pavilion might not have used our planning, and in just a few days, there would really be a movement to demand payment of wages. Besides, look at you that day, you were saying that the person's clothes were not well chosen, and you asked lawyer Zhang to go and bail the person out. We have known each other for so many years since university, when have we ever seen our Miss Pan fall for any man? Don't tell me you don't know her well. I don't believe you. Pan Minmin's face showed a hint of confusion. She felt that this matter was even more worrying than facing the auction on Friday. At this time, the roar of a sports car came from near the villa. The balcony of the study faces the lake view outside the door. In front of the villa, in order to highlight the nobility of the villa area, although there are usually not many cars, a wide 4-lane road was still built. Xiao Yi looked out onto the balcony and a LaFerrari led the way, driving past the front of the villa first, followed by a Lamborghini, a Porsche 911, an Audi R8, and a long time later, a last GL8 slowly drove past. It seems to be the car of Ding Xiao and his friends. I heard that he seems to be selling his villa recently. The laser in Lujiang City is only owned by Ding Shirha, the young master of the Ding family, so Xiaoya recognized it at once. At the same time, he also recognized the last GL8. Come and have a look, isn't that the car of President Guo? As soon as she heard this, Pan Minmin also hurriedly got up and took a look. She didn't care about the sports car at all. But she recognized the bank's standard model at a glance as the car of Gui Yao, the president of the Lujiang Merchants Xinan branch. Why did she recognize it at first glance? The main reason is that the main debt of the Pan Group is in the Xinan branch. A few years ago, when Grandpa was still alive, this car would visit from time to time. One was for the group's business, and the other was that when Gui Yao was only a senior manager back then, it was with the help of the Pan's money that he gradually became the president. Now that Grandpa is dead and the group is having problems again, he has gone to seek help many times himself, but this Gui Yao is always conveniently not in the office. Whenever he calls, he is either on a business trip or too busy to meet, and he has never been seen once. It seems that after Ding's villa was sold, President Gui came to beg for help again. Xiaoya shrugged. Each bank has its own deposit business. For such a large amount of sellers' funds, it must be the object of competition among banks. After all, transferring 200 million yuan from other banks is a considerable achievement for any branch. Xiaoya looked at Pan Minmin with some concern. I heard that Mr. Ding sold the villa to raise funds for Ms. Lan. If Mr. Ding really sells the villa, won't Ms. Lan have nearly 200 million more funds in her hands? Has there been any word on when the funds from Dubai will arrive? Pan Minmin suddenly asked. Xiaoya immediately took out her phone to check her email. She said, I just got a reply. If our agreement is signed today, the $30 million will be credited to our account before 8 p.m. Dubai time. Pan Minmin nodded slightly and said, 20 o'clock in Dubai is 24 o'clock in our time. We need to go to the bank as soon as possible tomorrow to convert this money into RMB. It's only Thursday tomorrow, and even if the stock price rises today, if Lan Miahan or Lan Haoyu has a backup plan, the stock price may still be suppressed below 2.5 yuan before Friday. I understand. Xiaoya stuck out her tongue. Minmin, I think we need to be more proactive. I don't think you're any worse than Ms. Lan. Pan Minmin froze for a moment. What do you mean? My dear sister, I know you're a little slow in this area, but don't be so slow. Okay, Ms. Lan can get the funds from Ding Xiao, but I think you should also invite Brother Mao to dinner. One is to thank him, and the other is the auction the point? Don't worry. I've already had the villa appraised. Together with the 30 million from Dubai, we have at least 400 million in our hands. Sister, 400 million is not even close to the threshold. Didn't you say that Ms. Lan would at least get 700 million? Pan Minmin was slightly apprehensive, but she said, don't worry, I still have places where I can raise funds. Xiao Yi shrugged. You always say that you have places to raise funds, and I don't even know who in our group can help us. Pan Minmin felt a little bit of a dilemma. Although Xiao Yi was her best friend, she still didn't dare to tell her that she was actually borrowing 500 million from this cat brother. Well, a promise to sell oneself. Thinking of this, Pan Minmin took out her phone again. She opened the chat interface with Wu Yi and read the lame relationship this man had last night. A warm current still ran through her heart. Maybe I should take the initiative. Pan Minmin thought, and typed a line into the input box. Thank you for today. Are you free? How about I take you to dinner tonight? Just as she typed the first line into the input box, there was another burst of a sports car's engine. Pan Minmin looked out strangely. It didn't matter if she didn't look, but as soon as she did, her blood pressure started to rise. It was a silver supercar, and a handsome couple were sitting in it, laughing as they sped past the entrance to the villa. The anger that had just subsided once again welled up in her heart. Pan Minmin simply deleted the words in the input box and said with a cold face, "Who is Mr. Wu and who is Brother Mao? I don't know. It's his own business if he likes to buy the company's stocks, it has nothing to do with me." Bastard, bastard, bastard. In the Tianhe Media headquarters building, Lan Haoyu was punching and kicking Li Xiaoxiao right in front of him. Li Xiaoxiao didn't dare to fight back, so he could only hug his head and scream while running. His left eye was already blackened. After chasing for a while, Lan Haoyu's face was white and he was panting heavily. Just now, the 50 million chips he held in his hand had just been placed, and they were all eaten up in an instant. Now, not only had all the chips been eaten up at the floor price, the stock price had also been pushed up to the daily limit. The morning's drop in price was like a flash in the pan, and nothing had happened. This matter was very serious for him. Not to mention that the price of the chips he had previously collected in order to fight against Lan Miahan was on average around 3 yuan, and the selling price of 2 yuan and 43 cents had already caused him to lose nearly 20 points. The price of the short-selling chips that were raised at the opening today was also around 2.8 yuan. They were sold at the bottom as the price kept dropping. Now that the price has been directly raised to the daily limit, it means that he has not only lost double the margin, but also that if the stock price does not go back up and continues to rise, closing the position will be another terrible hole. Chapter 72, Pan Minmin still has funds. At this time, the phone rang. Lan Haoyu glanced at the phone and saw that it was Lan Miahan calling again, so he picked it up. "Lan Miahan, you say, is it you who was up to no good, trying to trick me into selling you low-priced chips?" "Ha, Lan Haoyu, I think calling you a pig insults pigs. As long as I take over the auction, I will have a lot of chips. What do I need your chips for? Do you think I'm you? Do I still need to rely on this to make some pocket money? What are you here for? Do you want to see me laugh? I'm here to tell you some news. According to the report from my insider, Pan Minmin has obtained $30 million in copyright funding from the Middle East. The current situation is likely that Pan Minmin borrowed money from her personal account." "What?" Lan Haoyu's heart thudded, and he hurriedly asked, "Is the news reliable?" There was a hint of impatience on the other end of the line. "Let me repeat, I don't have time to bullshit with you. If the $30 million are real, then Pan Minmin has at least close to 100 million in her hands." "Hang up. Wait." Lan Haoyu yelled, a little flushed with excitement. "How is this situation different from what was said yesterday? Last night, you categorically said that Pan Minmin had at most 100 million in her hands. Hey, Lan Haoyu, aren't you being a bit naive? A battlefield is like a marketplace, the situation can change rapidly before the battle is over. Don't you know that? And I was telling the truth last night, and I'm telling the truth now. Lan Miahan, don't you want to just skip the auction and take over Pan's? You still have 4.9% of the shares. If you work together, I'm sure Pan Minmin won't be able to fight back." "Lan Haoyu, are you crazy? Pan Minmin already took more than 4% of the shares from you today. What can I do to compete for the 51% controlling stake if she has more capital? And let me tell you, if you're capable, I'll naturally ask my father to support you at the board meeting. If you're not capable, it won't affect me, because it'll still have to go to auction. You'd better think about how you're going to back down from the promise you made in front of my grandfather last night. Be careful, you might not even be able to keep this vice president of Tianhe Media." Beep. After he finished speaking, the phone hung up. "Who let you in?" With a loud yell, Lan Haoyu's phone was thrown directly at the secretary, who was holding an Americano. The hot Americano spilled all over the secretary. The secretary screamed, but when she saw Lan Haoyu's red eyes, she didn't care about her own situation and quickly bent over to apologize. "Yes, I'm sorry, I'll go make another one." "That's fine, you can all go out now, and close the door behind you." Lu Haitao waved his hand at Li Xiao and the secretary, and the two of them quickly retreated. After the door was closed, Lu Haitao looked at Lan Haoyu indifferently and said, "Haoyu, since things have already turned out this way, I think instead of dwelling on it, we should think of other solutions. This matter may not be without a chance. Uncle Lu taught me." Lan Haoyu's temper dared not be vented on Lu Haitao. Hearing Lu Haitao's words, he sat down and said respectfully. Lu Haitao smiled. If Pan Minmin had obtained 200 million yuan in funding, then she should have already spent more than 100 million yuan, which means that she would only have less than 100 million yuan left in her hands. At this time, if there is still a chip worth more than 100 million yuan or even more to throw down, I guess Pan's side should not be able to fight back. Lan Haoyu's eyes twitched, and he said helplessly, Uncle Lu, you know, the money I used to buy Pan Xiaojia's stocks was also obtained by pledging the shares of Tianhe Media. The company's money is under Grandpa's watchful eye and cannot be moved. Where can I get this 100 million? I can't just sell my house and car and go short selling like Pan Minmin. We don't have the funds, but we still have the stocks. Stocks? Where did the stocks come from? Lan Haoyu froze for a moment. Lu Haitao smiled slightly. You forgot that Pan Xiao's mother, Tang Guilan, Pan Guofu's second wife, still holds 4.5% of the Pan family's shares. Pan Xiaozi is still hiding in your villa, isn't he? Right. Lan Haoyu slammed the table, his face instantly revealing a sinister expression. Tell that old woman that if she doesn't act now, I'll immediately send her son to prison. I guarantee that she'll never see her son again for the rest of her life. Lu Haitao took a deep breath, knowing the importance of this matter. He immediately said, I will talk to her about this personally. Lan Haoyu nodded with a smile on his face. Please, Uncle Lu. You are the only one I can count on in a pinch. Lu Haitao smiled. He had watched Lan Haoyu grow up since childhood, and knew his character too well. He only acts like this when you are the only one who is useful to him, otherwise he normally looks down on him. But since he comes from a good family, there's nothing I can do but do my job well. After seeing off Lu Haitao, Lan Haoyu's smile instantly disappeared, replaced by a cold and frosty expression. The unique and deep roar of the Koenigsegg echoed through the quiet road in the middle of Lujiang Lake, like an impassioned symphony, breaking the tranquility of the surroundings and attracting surprised and astonished glances from the people in the villa area. It wasn't just the sound of the engine that was so loud, but also the fact that such a luxurious sports car in such a picturesque place undoubtedly became a unique landscape. Wu Yi wanted Sophie to better appreciate the beautiful scenery of the lake, so he deliberately lowered the car roof slowly, making the two feel as if they were on a moving viewing platform. Without the obstruction of the roof, the fresh air mixed with the slight coolness of the lake water and the fragrance of the flowers and plants, coming at you, made people feel carefree and happy. The sunlight shone through the sparse clouds and fell on the lake, sparkling and reflecting off the lush trees in the distance, creating a moving picture. The trees along the lake road were lush and green, and the leaves swayed in the wind, as if cheering their arrival. The sunlight shone through the gaps in the leaves and fell on the road, creating patches of dappled light and shadow. Sitting in such an environment, Sophie felt Wu Yi's care and thoughtfulness, and her heart was filled with an unprecedented sense of comfort and joy. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, as if she could inhale all this beauty into her heart and treasure it forever. She said softly, It's really beautiful. In the past, she would have just stood up and shouted, but for some reason, she didn't want to do that next to Kat. Chapter 73, Sophie's Change. In no time, Wu Yi arrived at the door of the villa with a modern appearance according to the address provided by Ding Shi. As soon as he got out of the car, he was surprised twice by this villa. It was a blue and white villa with a color scheme that was like the summery Mediterranean style, fresh and elegant. The entire villa's design stands out from the European-style designs in the neighborhood. The lines of the villa are simple and clear, without complicated decorations, but it shows its outstanding quality with its simple shape and exquisite details. It is like a boat anchored in the middle of the lake, quiet and noble. The villa is located on a small slope, and standing at the door, you can overlook the entire lake. Wu Yi stood there with Sophie, admiring the beautiful scenery in front of them, and a special feeling welled up in his heart. He looked into Sophie's eyes, which were sparkling with excitement, and asked with a smile, What do you think? Do you like it? Sophie nodded her head like a little chicken pecking rice, her face full of exaggerated excitement. I feel like I'm immortal when I run here, and living a long life is not a problem. Wu Yi laughed out loud after hearing this, exaggerating, Go in. Walking into the villa's front door, he saw several sports cars parked inside. At a glance, he saw Tang Jiawei and two young men quickly walking out of the villa. Upon seeing Wu Yi, Tang Jiawei immediately quickened his pace and came up to him. Mr. Wu, you're here, hey, isn't this Fei Fei? Tang greeted Sophie with a light smile. Wow! Tang Jiawei let out an exclamation and looked up and down at Sophie. Sophie was wearing a feminine pink printed chiffon shirt and a skirt with flesh-colored stockings, which completely accentuated her ultimate elegance and sweetness, making people unable to take their eyes off her. Tang Jiawei made a shocked expression. Are you sure you are the female tyrant who scared everyone away in the gym? Have you been possessed? Sophie's eyes widened at this, and a deeper blush rose on her face, like clouds in the evening sky. Tang Jia. Hui. Do you want to get beaten up? With that, Sophie tried to lift her foot to kick Tang Jiawei, but she immediately realized that she was wearing a short skirt today, so she quickly lowered her foot again. The blush on her face instantly spread to the tips of her ears, and she hid behind Wu Yi. Wu Yi smiled, looked at Tang Jiawei and said, "Why are you here? I feel like I've seen you everywhere since we met." Tang Jiawei shrugged his strong shoulders and said, "What are you talking about? I also wanted to come and pay my respects to the famous Wu Shao." Wu Yi rolled his eyes. "Good, have you finished looking? If you're done, just get out of here." Tang Jiawei laughed. "No, I have to introduce you first." He then immediately said to the two people who had walked over to him, "Wu Yi, Xingxuan's brother, distinguished Koenigsegg owner. Finally we have a car in our group that can outshine the Bugatti driven by Lan Haoyu, that idiot." "Wow! My dear Koenigsegg, my god!" A strange cry startled everyone. A young man wearing a denim jacket and dyed yellow hair rushed to the Koenigsegg at breakneck speed, directly lying on the rear hood, followed by another strange cry. "Holy shit, it's hot!" Wu Yi was covered in black lines. After all, the engine had just been turned off, and you were directly lying on the engine, so you are really brave. Tang Jiawei wiped the sweat from his forehead and looked at Wu Yi and said, "Don't mind him, he's just been released from the psychiatric ward and his emotions are still unstable." Then Tang Jiawei pointed to another young man who was slightly overweight and not very tall and said, "Dingxi, the future heir of the Tufeng Group, is the brother who is going to sell you the villa today." Wu Yi nodded and shook hands with Ding Shurha. "Hello, Senior Ding, I'm Wu Yi, also from Lujian University. I heard you give a speech when I first went to Lujian University, and it left a deep impression. I have to learn a lot from you." Ding Shurha touched his nose, waved his hand and laughed. "Come on, the brand department wrote it all, I just read it. What can I learn from you? Even the poor have to sell villas?" Ha ha ha, everyone laughed. Wu Yi's impression of Ding Shurha improved significantly. He had originally thought that Ding Shurha, as the heir to the Dauphin Group, would be a bit of a playboy, but he had not expected him to be so down-to-earth. Tang Jiawei then pointed to a young man who had gathered around the Koenigsegg in the doorway. He said, "That yellow-haired guy who doesn't look like a nice person is Zhou Hong. His family is in the clothing business, and he is the only son of the Anya Group's boss." "Damn you, is that how you introduce people?" Zhou Hong hurriedly took 3 steps and walked up to Wu Yi, extended his hand and said, "Hello, brother Wu." Wu Yi shook his hand. "Hello, Zhou Hong. Brother, the clothes are very unique and full of energy." "Thank you." Zhou Hong's eyebrows shot up, and then he turned to Tang Jiawei. Look, brother Wu has such good taste, unlike you, who is nothing but a show-off of your few dead muscles." "You fucking said it again. I'll punch you until you shit and show you whether your muscles are dead or not." Wu Yi smiled and introduced Sophie, who was standing next to him, into his arms. "This is my girlfriend Sophie." "Hello." Sophie was nervous. She was not afraid of anything, but she was timid. Although Tang Jiawei's introduction was very simple, she knew that the two people in front of her were not ordinary people. Not to mention the top domestic sports brand, Dauphin Group. Or even Anya Group, which has dozens of common women's clothing brands under its name, with a market value of over 10 billion yuan. She herself has bought quite a lot of clothes from Anya Group. And what made her heart tremble the most was that Wu Yi had even introduced her as his girlfriend in such a public place. They are both the children of big families, so won't they pass the information back home? Or? Sophie's heart was pounding. "Hello, sister-in-law," Zhou Hong said, the first to greet her. "Hello, sister-in-law," Ding Shurha also said, smiling, before adding, "Let's go in and take a look at the house. Standing here in the doorway makes it look like I'm not a good host. Let's go." Wu Yi patted Sophie, who was a little dazed, on the shoulder. Sophie then came to her senses and followed the others into the villa. After passing through the entrance hall, Sophie was taken aback by the suddenly open and spacious environment. Her mind was still in a daze, and for a moment she couldn't think of any adjectives to describe the scene before her. The ceiling was high, and through the bright floor-to-ceiling windows, the sun shone on the carefully selected furniture, filling every corner with warmth and comfort. Modern art paintings of various kinds hung on the beige walls, adding an elegant artistic atmosphere to the whole space. Chapter 74, The Girl from China Merchants Bank. Judging from the way my younger brother and sister-in-law are behaving, it seems that our deal is going to go through. Ding Shihai gave a hearty laugh, and then said to Wu Yi, "Why don't you let your sister-in-law take a look around the villa herself and see if there is anything that she doesn't like, and I will have someone come and fix it." As soon as Sophie heard this, she immediately realized that Ding Shihai had something to say to Wu Yi, so she hurriedly said, "You guys chat about things, I'll go look around somewhere else." Wu Yi laughed and patted Sophie's back, saying, "You look around first, I'll come find you in a bit," and sent Sophie away. Wu Yi laughed and said, "What's up, Mr. Ding, what advice do you have?" Zhou Hong immediately winked and said, "Good news, it's about kidney deficiency, damn, what are you doing?" Tang Jiawei then grabbed Zhou Hong's head with his thick arm and dragged him outside. "If you can't talk, just keep quiet. Come, let's go admire the Koenigsegg with me." "Chow, it's not your car, and you're not the proud owner." "What did you say?" Tang Jiawei let go of Zhou Hong, and in his hand he showed a set of keys to a shield. He had just borrowed the car keys from Wu Yi. "Hey, what did I say? Brother Wu, we are good brothers, right?" Hey, I called you father, isn't that good enough?" After the two left, the corridor was left with Wu Yi and Ding Shihai. Ding Shi smiled and said, "Don't worry about them. Most of us natives of Luzhou have known each other since childhood and can get along well." Wu Yi laughed and said, "It's fine. I like them very much, but Ding Xiao has something to tell me. Follow me." Ding Shi gave a meaningful smile and led Wu Yi down the corridor to a meeting room at the back of the hall. As soon as the meeting room opened, two people were already standing inside. The one in charge was a man in his 40s, wearing a black suit and gold-rimmed glasses, with a pot belly. Standing behind him was a beautiful girl. The girl was not very tall, with a plump face like a ripe apple, wearing a work uniform of China Merchants Bank, exuding a confident temperament and charm that was a bit different from her appearance. Wu Yi felt a bit like Xiaobon, but she didn't have the kind of innocence that came from the heart that Xiaobon had. Ding found a beauty with a score of 85 or above. Name, Wu Lily. Age, 22. Face Value Index, 90. Body Shape Index, 88. Desire for money, 68. Host's favorability, 0. Physical health, healthy. Probably because he had been looking at pretty women for a few days and had become a little numb, Wu Yi just glanced at her a few times and then stopped. Ding Shihai entered the door and said in a hearty voice, "Lao Gua, Mr. Wu is here." Then he said to Wu Yi, "This is Gui Yao, the president of the Xianan Commercial District branch of the Lujiang Merchants Bank. He is a capable man." After Ding Shihai introduced him, Gui Yao hurriedly walked over with a smile on his face and said, "Hello, Mr. Wu, I'm Gui Yao." "Hello, President Gui." Wu Yi shook hands with Gui Yao, but he was very curious as to why the bank president was running over to buy a house. Seeing Wu Yi's surprise, Ding Shihai explained, "It's like this. My house is registered under the name of my personal finance company. If I want to sell it, the transaction has to be from public to private. The most troublesome part of a public to private transaction is that large amounts of money require various kinds of audits. If someone like President Gui is involved, not only will the audits be done quickly, but their commercial bank itself has various resources and connections to integrate, so our real estate procedures can be completed in one day." One day? It seems that President Gui is really capable. Wu Yi glanced at Gui Yao. He remembered taking it into the high-end property agency in Luzhou to buy a house yesterday, and the other party also used their connections, but it seemed that the procedures still took 3 days to complete. Gui Yao pushed his glasses back up and smiled, "Mr. Wu, you are too kind. I have only a little ability, and it is nothing to brag about. I also came here today because I want to get to know young talents like you. President Gua, you are too kind. I am just a fourth-year student about to graduate." Oh, Mr. Wu is really humble. These days, fourth-year students are not the same as fourth-year students. After so many years in Fujian, I was able to register a company with paid-in capital of 500 million and drive a Koenigsegg. Mr. Wu is considered to be the first person. Wu Yi was surprised that the other party had actually investigated him. Gui Yao immediately guessed Wu Yi's thoughts when he saw his face and smiled slightly. "Mr. Wu, don't get me wrong, I'm not that capable of investigating you. It's just that I've been friends with President Zhou for many years, and he only went to our bank today to handle the company's basic account. That's when I found out that the young man who wanted to buy Ding Xiao's house and the young man from Early Morning Ventures were actually the same person." It's truly an honor for me to be able to serve you by chance. President Guo, you flatter me. Wu Yi smiled. Guo Yao is really good at flattery, and he can completely ignore his own age of about 40 and look reverently at a young man in his early 20s and tell him flattering things without blushing or breaking stride. Guo Yao paused, and a smile appeared on his face. Of course, I came here today especially to see if Mr. Wu is interested in becoming a super high-end private banking customer of our bank. Ultra high-end private banking customers? Wu Yi's eyes lit up. Yes, I wonder if Mr. Wu could give me a few minutes to explain the advantages of our branch. Guo Yao looked at Ding Shi River. Ding Shi River smiled knowingly and said to Wu Yi, Mr. Wu, the ultra high-end private banking customers of CMB include services that are much better than the big four banks. However, you should find out for yourself whether you need them. You two talk first, I'll go see what those two are doing. Ding Sai, as the third generation of the Dafeng Group, currently manages the Dafeng headquarters in Luzhou. The headquarters is located in the Sinan Business District, so most of the financial operations are handled through the Sinan Business District CMB. In his position, he doesn't really pay much attention to the average branch manager. But this Guo Yao is a capable person. Not only does he have a strong personal business ability, but he is also extremely good at gathering resources. In the past few years, he has handled a lot of business and personal matters for him. In return, of course, it is the support that the Dafeng Group gives him when he faces various performance issues. It's almost the end of the year, and the performance indicators for the XINN branch are here again. Originally, according to previous years, he would have given his full support, but this year the situation is relatively dire. Due to the sharp decline in profits, the Dafeng Group has not only transferred a large amount of cash from the Lujiang headquarters to the XINN branch, but now even the 200 million yuan from the sale of the house can only be transferred out after a few days in the XINN branch, which is not much help. So he briefly told Guo Yao that Wu Yi was a young master with a lot of capital. The rest was up to Guo Yao. Although bank managers are unapproachable in the eyes of ordinary people, if you look at the upper levels, there are more than 10 sub-branches in Lujiang alone, not to mention the rest of Fujian province. Each of these sub-branch managers has quarterly, semi-annual, and annual targets to meet, and they have to do their best to befriend young masters with capital and power in order to complete their tasks. Chapter 75, President Guo has a request. Okay, let's chat. Wu Yi walked directly up and sat on the sofa in the waiting room. Guo Yao sat across from Wu Yi only after she had taken her seat. Hello, Mr. Wu, I'm account manager Wu Lily. Wu Lily introduced herself very politely, with an attitude that was neither humble nor arrogant, and then got to work serving tea. Wu Yi noticed upon closer inspection that although Wu Lily was not tall, her body proportions were very good. Delicate, with a somewhat baby-faced face, her black and white eyes looking very clear, the corners of her eyes slightly raised, and a natural smile even when she is not speaking. She gives a very comfortable feeling. Manager Wu and Wu Xiao both have the surname Wu, so they might be related 500 years ago. Guo Yao laughed and made a joke, and also brought Wu Yi back to the topic from her appraisal of Wu Lily. Wu Yi just smiled slightly and did not respond. Guo Yao said directly, Mr. Wu, with your status, I won't go into the details of the other cards, but I will focus on the ultra-high-end private banking. The standard for ultra-high-end private banking is that your average daily deposit in our bank throughout the year is not less than 50 million. As long as you join our ultra-high-end private banking, we will give you the highest banking privileges, and for all your needs, we will have a dedicated team to handle your needs and customize the most needed and effective solutions for you. Moreover, for our ultra-high-end private clients, we will also frequently integrate customer resources to provide you with an exclusive communication platform. I believe that you have established early ventures because you want to make a big splash in your career and you need resources in this area. Wu Yi picked up the teacup on the table and took a sip. The fragrance was rich and full-bodied. The tea the bank president brought was indeed different. He was actually very tempted by what Guo Yao had said. No one else knows, but he knows very well that he is not some big shot. In this society, if you want to do something, money alone is definitely not enough. You need resources and connections to be able to do more. He just didn't think that 50 million should be enough to make the president of the Lujiang branch so happy, not to mention that the other party was the president of the XINN Commercial District branch of the China Merchants Bank. What kind of place is the XINN Commercial District? It's a gathering place for the famous Lujiang first-tier office buildings, and almost all the big companies there can afford to buy a building on their own. How could the branch manager overseeing this area not have seen 50 million before? And he even asked someone as important as Ding's River to endorse it. Wu Lily saw that Wu Yi had finished his tea and immediately got up to refill his cup. Wu Yi smiled and said, "Gua, just say what you want to say. A business of just 50 million is not worth the bank manager's attention. Besides, I feel that sending manager Wu to persuade me to join the club may be more effective than you, a man." Wu Lily's body stiffened as she listened from the side, and she sat further away from Wu Yi than she naturally would have. Guo Yao's eyes lit up when he heard Wu Yi's address. The meaning of this address from Lao Gui is not light. "Manager Wu, you go out for a moment first." Guo Yao indicated, and Wu Lily immediately got up, flashed a professional smile at Wu Yi, and then walked out of the meeting room and closed the door behind her. Taking advantage of the gap, Wu Yi also sent a message to Zhou Rui. "Do you know Guo Yao? How is it?" As soon as the door to the meeting room closed, Guo Yao's face showed a bitter expression. "Still, Mr. Wu, you're a stand-up guy. This is really... I'm not being sensible, but the overall economy is bad this year, but the indicators for the new commercial district are getting higher and higher. I don't know if you've heard of the Pan Group?" Wu Yi was taken aback. Why did it come back to the Pan Group? But she nodded and said, "Yes, I will go to the auction on Friday, but what does that have to do with your bank?" "Hey." Guo Yao sighed and said, "Those are internal struggles. My problem is that last year, when Mr. Pan was still alive, in order to give Pans a new lease on life, I applied for a low-interest loan of 300 million. Originally, it was simply impossible to lend money when Pan's performance was so poor, but Mr. Pan was my benefactor back then, and I was forced to give the money. I originally thought that this year would see a recovery and that Pans would turn around, but I never expected so many ridiculous problems to arise. Great, now the 300 million is overdue even for interest, not to mention the promised repayment of the principal within a year." Wu Yi frowned. "If Pans is overdue, won't the group account be frozen? That's just the textbook process. Which bank would be willing to take on such a black hat? Usually when something like this happens, it's negotiated after negotiation, and it's best to see if the other party has any chance of at least paying back a little more. If the company is really sealed up, then it means that the bank will have to bear the black debt of 300 million, and then my position as the bank manager will come to an end." Guo Yao had a sad face. "Brother, I'm suffering. There are more than 10 branch managers in Lujiang and hundreds in Fujian. Everyone is jealous of the position of branch manager in the Xianan business district. In the past 2 days, I passed on the message through my connections that if I can't improve these results, the position may not be secure. So you hope?" Wu Yi immediately guessed the meaning, and Guo Yao was probably here to attract deposits. Guo Yao smiled broadly and said, "Mr. Wu, you want to set up a company with a paid-in capital of 500 million. I have a small request. After you pay in the money, can you leave it at China Merchants Bank instead of transferring it out? If you help Guo, you will be his savior. I won't even mention the bank's services, which are all mediocre. Guo just wants to say that if you need anything in the future, as long as Guo can do it, it will be a piece of cake." "Ha, Guo, calm down." Wu Yi smiled and said that Guo was just trying to get the branch's working capital, and he would just listen to the latter part. At this time, Zhou Rui sent a long message. "Boss, it seems that Guo Yao has approached you. What can I say about him? He's a snob, but very capable. His problem is that there are several 100 million in accounts that cannot be offset. The reason is that last year, in order to complete his own loan performance, he secretly changed the information on Pans and allocated the funds to Pans. Of course, the premise was that their original internal estimates were also optimistic about Pan's recovery this year. As a result, I don't need to say much. This year, Pans has had continuous disasters, so naturally this account has to be counted on him. They have an internal year-end review every December, and now he is facing the choice of either recovering the money from Pan's account or finding other performance to make up for it. Otherwise, it is said that even his private modification of the data will be investigated together. This matter can be serious or not. Many things are connected. If you don't investigate, everything is fine. If you do, there are problems everywhere. I heard that he has recently visited all the companies he knows. However, with the economy in such bad shape and the end of the year approaching, companies are cutting back on staff and costs to survive. Even his usual ally, Tefeng, is unable to help. Who can afford to give him hundreds of millions of dollars to make up for his performance? So he is now in a hurry. Chapter 76, If you have a problem, ask your secretary to help. Wu Yi, so what's your opinion? Joe Rui, if it were me, if I didn't care about where to put the funds or if I had enough spare funds, I would probably help out. What do you mean? 1. For a startup like us, this is just a piece of cake. Another thing is that our venture capital firm is going for investment, and in the future, it will involve debt, equity, loans, even salaries, taxes, etc. As long as the funds are large, the dealings with the bank will inevitably increase. At this time, if there is an internal relationship with the bank, it will definitely be much more convenient. Although it is true that banks will naturally come knocking when a company grows big, you have to understand that relationships are very different. Gui Yao is a man who has gone from being a lobby manager to the branch manager of such an important area as the Sinan Business District. He is not only capable, but also has a very important point, which is that he is very understanding and knows the way of reciprocity between interests and cooperation. Okay, I understand. The atmosphere in the reception room suddenly quieted down. Wu Yi's fingers rhythmically tapped on the armrest, making Gui Yao a little restless. Zhou Rui had actually said what he was thinking. All that nonsense about repaying kindness was just to pacify children. Only the intersection of interests can make a relationship stable. Okay, let's just pretend that we just met today, President Gua, and this is a gift from me to you. Wu Yi said directly with a smile after a moment of contemplation. Gui Yao was overjoyed. He had been thinking for a long time and kept sending messages. He thought that the other party must have already made some kind of agreement with another bank. After all, although he had a good position, he was only the manager of a branch, and if the other 6 major banks sent their regional managers, he would have no advantage at all. So when can you? Gui Yao was obviously in a hurry, because the review would take place in December, and after the funds were credited, he would also need to carry out some operations and preparations. But he felt that this was not appropriate. Although he kept calling him brother, the truth was that they had only just met today. He could only say, "Brother, I'm really a bit anxious. I just need a figure in the accounts. Your side is actually the same as the other banks in terms of capital verification, from CMB and from CMB. In the next 2 days, no later than Friday, I'll be waiting for Zhou Rui to contact me." Gui Yao's eyes lit up. 2 days was not a problem at all. Great, Mr. Wu. Without further ado, I will remember this favor. You're too kind, Mr. Gua, but I don't seem to have a CMB card. If I become your customer, do I have to go to your bank to apply for a bank card again? Gui Yao said with a smile, "You're joking, my friend. After you become our ultra-high-end private banking customer, you will naturally enjoy the highest level of service at our bank. Nothing will require you to do anything yourself. The reason I brought Manager Wu here today is to solve these problems for you. Please wait a moment, I'll go get her for you," Gui Yao said, and then walked out of the meeting room with a smile. Wu Yi was surprised. What's going on? Can't someone make a phone call? After a while, the door pushed in, and only Wu Lily came in, but Gui Yao was nowhere to be seen. Wu Lily's expression was wooden. After seeing Wu Yi, she just said indifferently, "Manager Wu, from now on, I will be your personal secretary at CMB. You can contact me anytime for anything you need. Here is my business card. If it's more convenient, I can add you on WeChat. Anything you need?" Wu Yi grinned. This Gui Yao and Zhou Rui can't be from the same school, as they both used similar lines. "Yes, anything you need," Wu Lily repeated, her face unnatural. "Are you nervous?" Wu Yi asked, smiling at Wu Lily's appearance. "No." Wu Lily shook her head, struggled for a moment, and then said in an extremely stiff tone, "Mr. Wu, if you have any needs, I can satisfy you." Seeing you like this, how could Gui Yao bring you here? Wu Yi asked curiously. "Why else?" "Because I am the most attractive intern this year, and I also asked for it myself," Wu Lily smiled self-deprecatingly. "Asked for yourself?" Wu Yi was surprised. "Something happened at home, and I owe a lot of money. If I'm not interested in you, then your hopes will be dashed." "No, they won't." "Why?" "Well, for one thing, you've been ogling me since you came in. You looked at me 3 times while I was standing over there, and you looked twice at my cleavage when I poured the tea. From what I can tell, you're definitely interested in me. And another thing is, don't you bosses like to have secretaries who can multitask? Well, I happen to be the kind of person who can multitask and..." Wu Lily stopped in the middle of her sentence, even though she was facing Wu Yi. She didn't feel the least bit apologetic, but rather like she was about to let it all out. You seem to know a lot, but I still have to interview you if I want to hire you as a secretary. Interview? Wu Lily froze for a moment. Wu Yi gave a small smile and sat down first. Wu Lily frowned, her gaze inadvertently sweeping over the spot next to the double sofa where Wu Yi was sitting, obviously hesitant. She gritted her teeth, struggled internally for a moment, and then decided to sit in that position. Just as she was about to sit down, a voice suddenly sounded in her ear. Sit over there. Wu Lily was surprised and found that Wu Yi was referring to the seat opposite him where Guaya was sitting. There was an awkward moment. Wu Lily suddenly blushed and sat over there. Intern at China Merchants Bank? Yes. Wu Lily replied, her voice a little shaky. Then tell me what abilities you have as a capable secretary. Wu Lily paused for a moment. She didn't expect Wu Yi's question to be so formal. Mr. Wu, although I am a fresh graduate, I represent the ultra-high-end private client team of China Merchants Bank. Many things are not done by me, but by the team. For example, regarding the property you found this time to buy a house, as far as I know, you inquired with your friend, and Mr. Ding volunteered to complete it. But if you let us handle it, just tell us your needs and budget for the house, and we can completely filter out multiple suitable houses for you to choose from, and you won't even have to meet with Mr. Ding if you don't want to. Moreover. Wu Lily paused, took out her phone, flipped through a few pages, and handed it to Wu Yi, saying, Before I came, I personally calculated the value of this villa for you through various materials, so that you can take a more active advantage when negotiating the price with Mr. Ding later. Wu Yi took the phone and looked at it, raising her eyebrows slightly. The conclusion of the document on the phone was that the actual transaction value of this house in Dingxi was between 158 million and 163.5 million. This was almost the average price, which was the same as the 160 million price given by Dingxi. Ha, you can't be a stooge sent by Dingxi. Chapter 77, the maid assigned to fetch water by the bank. Upon hearing Wu Yi's words, Wu Lily's eyes suddenly widened, and she said with a slightly angry expression, You can insult my body, but you cannot insult my character and work ethic. This is a value that I calculated myself based on the bank's background information and big data, and it took me more than an hour. As soon as Wu Lily finished speaking, she suddenly realized her grammatical mistake and hurriedly sat down with a blush on her face, quickly saying in a low voice. And I also know that Mr. Ding is selling this house in order to lend the money to Miss Lan Miaohan to participate in the Pan's equity auction on Friday. Oh? Wu Yi froze for a moment, and Ding Shihe's sale of the house was related to Pan's again? It seems that Lan Miaohan is not as well funded as she said. Do you know anything about Lan Haoyu? Wu Yi suddenly changed the subject. Wu Lily was taken aback, and a little disgust showed on her face as she said, He is the eldest grandson of Mr. Tianhe, the founder of Tianhe Group. He is currently the deputy general manager of Tianhe Media. I heard that he was originally the general manager, but because he signed a contract with an artist from the Violent Hidden Rules Group, the artist jumped off the building of Tianhe Media and committed suicide. This incident caused a huge uproar at the time, and even affected the stock price of their Tianhe head office. So he was removed from the position of general manager by Mr. Tianhe for half a year, but for some reason, 2 months ago, he was reappointed as deputy general manager. Tianhe Media is an entertainment company? Tianhe Media is a subsidiary of the Tianhe Group. It was founded in 2018 by Mr. Lu Haitao, the former director of the media department of the Tianhe Group. At that time, Mr. Lu established it based on his optimistic view of the short video internet celebrity business. It started as an internet celebrity incubation base, and then it got better and better, and it also entered the film and television industry, investing in various online dramas. When Lu Haitao was the general manager, the company was doing relatively well, but since Lan Haoyu became the general manager in 2021 and Lu Haitao was demoted to deputy general manager, the company's situation has fallen sharply. Especially after the suicide incident, 2 web series that they had invested in this year have been shelved. Moreover, this year is the signing year, and it is said that many internet celebrities in their company are wavering about whether or not to sign with Tianhe. Wu Yi smiled. If everyone collectively refuses to sign a contract, Tianhe Media will be dead. Wu Lily shook her head and said, It's not that easy. It is said that entertainment companies are like iron, while internet celebrities are like flowing water. Many internet celebrities, even if they have millions of followers, are just as fake as they were before once their companies stop operating behind the scenes. You should have seen some of them as well. There are situations where there are more than 1 million followers, but only a few dozen people are watching the live broadcast. That is the result of having no team. After all, short videos are fast-moving culture. Unless you have endless freshness to show everyone. So although Lan Haoyu has a lot of problems, Tianhe's framework is very good under Lu Haitau's construction, and without a good next home, those internet celebrities are not likely to refuse to sign a contract at will. At most, they are just stalling and waiting to see what happens. Wu Yi was slightly surprised, and then laughed. Your analysis sounds as if you are an artist yourself? Wu Lily's rosy face revealed a rare look of hesitation. It's not that easy to be an artist. There are thousands of people competing for the same thing. It's even harder for internet celebrities to become artists. Some of my friends who have millions of followers on the internet can't even get a supporting role in a movie. Ha ha ha. Wu Yi laughed. Don't worry, if I ever make a TV series, I'll definitely give you an important role. What role? Wu Lily froze for a moment. The maid in the young master's service. Wu Lily froze for a moment, and then her face revealed a look of anger. Okay. Wu Yi's mouth corner curled up slightly. Very good, congratulations, your unique temperament has successfully attracted my attention, and from now on, you will be my secretary who does everything for me when I'm busy. Wu Lily. On the other side, Sophie was wandering around the villa alone. And took a look around the hall. She then walked to the side of the living room, where an arched wooden door was half open. Through the crack, Sophie could see a brick wall. A spacious open kitchen was next to the brick wall, with a black slate countertop that was clean and tidy, and a full range of high-end kitchen appliances. Further on, Sophie saw a large terrace surrounded by a beautiful garden full of brightly colored flowers. Beyond the terrace was a spacious courtyard with flagstones and relaxing outdoor furniture. Up the stairs, Sophie saw 2 spacious bedrooms. Each bedroom had its own bathroom with a comfortable bathtub and a luxurious shower. The windows in the bedrooms all faced the garden, filling the rooms with natural light and providing a wonderful view. Coming to the balcony of the second-floor bedroom, Sophie saw a panoramic view of the rippling blue water of the lake, with carefully designed garden landscapes in the near distance. Every corner was full of vitality and serene beauty. An idea suddenly occurred to her. She took off her shoes and lay down gently on the huge bed in the bedroom. Although the bed was only covered with cushions, it felt a little uncomfortable. But the lake breeze blowing in from the balcony caressed her face, and she immersed herself in this wonderful feeling, listening to the sound of the breeze blowing through the leaves. A strong desire welled up in her heart. Faye? A puzzled voice sounded in Sophie's ear, and she sat up quickly from the bed in surprise. Her heart was pounding furiously in her chest, as if it were about to jump out of her throat. Wu Yi was standing in the doorway of the bedroom with a strange girl, both of them looking full of surprise and puzzlement. Sophie felt her face burning, her blush spreading from her cheeks to the tips of her ears, as if she had been given a hard lash. Ah, kill me. If there was a hole in the ground right now, she was sure she could immediately crawl into it. I'm just a little sleepy. Sophie quickly got up from the bed, put on her shoes and walked over to Wu Yi. Wu Yi reached out and touched Sophie's hot face. You don't have a fever, do you? The man's concerned gaze and actions made Sophie blush even more. She slapped Wu Yi's hand away and snapped, ouch, I said I'm fine. Cough cough. Mr. Wu. Wu Lily rolled her eyes in exasperation, and a million thoughts raced through her mind. Can't you pay attention to the people around you before showing off your affection? Sophie then noticed Wu Lily, her expression slightly stunned, before immediately putting on a smile, taking Wu Yi's arm and asking, Brother Mao, who is this young lady? Oh, Wu Yi glanced at Wu Lily and laughed, the maid that CMB assigned to me. Chapter 78, Are you going to be okay? Cough cough cough. Wu Lily heard it and her vision went dark, and she almost couldn't catch her breath. She gritted her teeth in anger and continued the introduction. I've just gone over the details, but to sum up, this villa is the one with the best view in the Tianyue Lake Villa complex. It covers an area of 950 square meters and has a total of 6 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, a spacious and fully open dining room, a media room, a recreation room, a swimming pool and 2 beautiful walk-in closets. In addition, all the decoration materials and furniture here are top brands, and all the appliances have also been designed by a special person with an intelligent system. According to Ding Xiaoshua, in order to ensure privacy, soundproofing and a monitoring system were also installed throughout the house. The entire system, these smart purchases of the villa, will be written into the agreement in the form of a gift. Wu Lily then lowered her voice and said, although my estimate of the transaction value is 158 million to 163.5 million, I think that given the current real estate market, Mr. Ding has not received any inquiries about the house for several months after listing, and he is anxious to sell. I feel that the price can be completely lowered to between 150 million and 155 million. Of course, if it is lower, it depends on how anxious Mr. Ding is. Oh, Wu Yi's eyebrows shot up. He discovered that although this Wu Lily was only 22 years old, her mind was extraordinary. What? This house is 150 million yuan. Sophie's eyes widened in disbelief. Wu Yi put his arm around Sophie's waist and laughed. What's with that face? I gave you 100 million yuan for your retirement this morning. There's not much difference between 150 million yuan and 100 million yuan. 100 million yuan for retirement? Wu Lily's expression froze, thinking she had heard wrong. Sophie even shook her body. What nonsense are you talking about? Can a difference of 50 million be considered insignificant? And wasn't the 100 million from this morning an investment? Wait, you wouldn't. Sophie looked at the somewhat dazed Wu Lily and suddenly stopped talking. The three of them casually strolled around a few more times, briefly looked at the bedrooms and decorations on the second floor, and then returned to the lobby. How's it going, bro? Ding Shihua hurriedly greeted Wu Yiduo when he saw him coming down and asked out loud. He had just heard from Guoyao that Wu Yiduo would make a capital verification of 500 million within 2 days and would use the bank to wash the money. He was also very anxious. After all, this was a luxury home worth 160 million. And there were quite a few villas for sale on this side of Tianyuhu Lake. Even though his father's wealth was already worth tens of billions, he still needed to think carefully and compare again and again before making a decision. This is also the reason why the original price of the house was 200 million, and it had previously been discounted to 170 million, but no one had even looked at it. If it weren't for... The image of Lan Miaohan, like a celestial being, appeared in Dingshan's mind. And her arrogant words. I need 200 million. 200 million, without any request, nor a hint of gratitude. Hey, a beautiful woman is a disaster. He sighed, just about to say that if it was a matter of price, he could still lower it a bit. I'll take the whole set. Wu Yan's voice, which carried the light of dawn, made Dingshan's spirit tremble, and he hurriedly said excitedly, Really, brother? An hour later. With the small team handled by Guoyao. Although everyone is a well-known person, the process of contracts and the like still needs to be followed. After completing the contract, Wu Yan directly transferred a little over 600 million yuan to Dingshan. And with Wu Lily there, large transfers were not a problem at all. After the transaction was completed on the spot, all that remained was some paperwork, and Sophie, the head of Ding's River Company, and the head of the bank needed to go to the administrative service center. Ding found that the host is a beautiful woman with a grade A or above, spending 160 million yuan, and getting a cashback of 320 million yuan, with a host balance of 470 million. Ding, host please note, host Sophie's desire for money has dropped to 20, if you continue to spend, there will be no cashback. Villa Hall. Seeing Sophie sign some homeowner agreement with a slight tremor, everyone took a cold breath. They looked at Wu Yi in disbelief. Zhou Hong and Tang Jiawei looked at each other. At first, when Wu Yi said he wanted to transfer the house to Sophie, they both thought it was just a joke to tease the girl. Joke my ass, it's 160 million yuan. For Zhou Hong and Tang Jiawei, even if they inherit the family property in the future, they don't know if they will have this much cash in their hands. Tang Jiawei in particular was feeling a mixture of emotions. He knew that Wu Yi and Sophie had only known each other for less than 3 days. He had been running a high-end gym brand for 5 or 6 years. Its valuation was only 200 million. And that was just the valuation. This person's house was a real value. Wu Lily was once again shocked by Wu Yi's extravagant behavior, which made her heart race. Just now, she had learned that Sophie was only this person's girlfriend. 100 million. Pension. A villa worth 160 million yuan is being given away for free. The main thing is that this man in front of her is still so young, and he's not unattractive. She looked at Wu Yi, her eyes flashing with complex emotions. But it was only for a few moments, because coincidentally, the two of them locked eyes. Wu Lily blushed and immediately lowered her head. Wu Lily, you must not be defeated by the evils of capitalism. Even if they can have your body, they can never have your heart. Ha ha ha. Ding Shihua was in a good mood because he had sold his house, so he patted Wu Yi on the shoulder and said, Brother, you're awesome. Of the people present, only Ding Shihua could barely accept it. Everyone probably felt that Wu Yi was a bit stupid, but if he felt that way about his own actions, what was he to think? To be honest, he had put a lot of thought into decorating the house for his own use, and now he had sold it at a discount for a woman. Although it wasn't as exaggerated as losing a few $100 million, he had definitely lost tens of millions. Damn, what kind of inhumane operation is this? Zhou Hong pinched his face and cursed. Tang Jiawei, on the other hand, jokingly said to the already excited Sophie, who was red with excitement, No, President Su, why don't you ask your man to invest some money in our gym? This time, Sophie unusually ignored Tang Jiawei, not even looking at him, but standing quietly, not knowing what to think. Wu Yi just smiled at everyone's reaction and didn't say anything. Next, all we have to do is wait for the company on the other side of the Dings River to process it. Sophie saw that Wu Yi was free, so she pulled Wu Yi over to the side and said with a worried expression on her face, "Did something happen to you? You're giving me my pension and buying me such a big house, it feels like you're telling me your last words. Are you afraid that I won't be as good as you?" Wu Yi couldn't help but laugh. "What were you thinking with that little head of yours?" "No, it's not. You're the head." Wu Yi pinched Sophie's face hard and said, "But you've reminded me of something. If I run into bad luck one day and have to rely on you for support, I hope you won't forget me." Sophie shrugged and said, "I'll hit you again." Ha ha. Wu Yi laughed. He actually wanted to give Sophie 10 million yuan for renovations, but unfortunately Sophie's desire for money had been directly reduced to zero by this wave of events, and he didn't know when she would recover. At this time, the phone rang, and Wu Yi saw that it was Li Kaming. "Brother Mao, Lao Chen said he couldn't find you." Chapter 79, Xiaoming does handstands. The transaction went very smoothly. Originally, Ding Shi had planned to invite Wu Yi, Sophie, and other miscellaneous people to lunch. Now, due to a sudden matter, Wu Yi could only politely decline. Naturally, the matter of the city administrative center became Wu Lily accompanying Sophie to go through it together. He said goodbye to Sophie and drove off alone in the Koenigsegg to Lujian University. To avoid unnecessary trouble, he parked the car outside the campus. After much consideration, he went to a convenience store and bought 2 Fu Rongwang cigarettes. As expected, Chen spent a few more hours going through the research materials. During this time, they talked about graduation plans and recent internship experiences. When he heard that he had entered a venture capital company, he sighed a little, tactfully persuading him to consider taking the civil service exam even if he did not pursue graduate school. After all, it was more stable. As for the 2 cigarettes, in the end, he refused to accept them and kicked him out, reminding him not to forget to return them. Looking at the 2 Fu Rongwang in his hands, Wu Yi smiled. He was still grateful to Lao Chen, and could only repay him in other ways in the future. But since he was already at the school, he decided to just go back to the dormitory and take a look. He felt that once the house was ready, he would just move his things out of the dormitory. Wait. Wu Yi suddenly froze for a moment. Where would he move his things to? Sophie's villa? And Anne's large flat? Wu Yi suddenly felt that he should probably buy himself a house, otherwise it would be a bit inconvenient to use whichever woman's place as his base. She had just stepped into the dormitory. Wu Yi was shocked to see Li Kaming doing handstands against the wall. Because Li Kaming was relatively fat and had a big belly, he couldn't get up after several tries, and instead, he sat panting and red-faced on the floor of the dormitory. "Girls, let me rest for a while, I can't do it anymore." A few girls' voices could be heard in the room, laughing so hard they almost couldn't breathe. "Oh dear, Xiaoming, you can't even do a handstand properly, and you're talking about filming us from every angle?" 9494, Xiaoming, don't let us down, everyone loves to see you do a handstand, ha. "Hey, Kaming, I've introduced you to the girls, whether you can seize the opportunity to arrange a private photo shoot with them depends on how you perform." Li Kaming, beaming from ear to ear, shouted into the live broadcast room, of course, I will definitely satisfy all the sisters." It was only then that he noticed Wu Yi standing in front of the dormitory door with a blank expression. He hurriedly said, "Holy shit, brother cat, you've finally come back." Wu Yi's face was a mass of dark lines. "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?" Li Kaming felt awkward for a moment. This is the punishment for losing the PK. PK? Wu Yi then noticed that there was an additional fill light on the table under Li Kaming's bed, as well as a live streaming mobile phone mount. Wu Yi leaned over to the phone screen and rolled his eyes. No wonder the voice sounded so familiar. The phone screen showed a 4-person connection, 2 old acquaintances, Zhao Yeqian and Jiu Jiu, and one called Xiaohan. Looking at the number of people online again, Wu Yi froze for a moment and rubbed his eyes. Lee Kaming's live streaming room had more than 300 people online. What's going on? Ding, found a beauty with a score of 85 or higher, with a money desire of 57. Zhao Yaqian and Jojo are old acquaintances, so without guessing, they know that the system is talking about Xiaohan. Wu Yi therefore clicked on Xiaohan's avatar. His brows furrowed. She can be considered somewhat attractive. But according to his intuition, Xiaohan's appearance score definitely wouldn't exceed 90, and it's hard to tell from the live broadcast how she looks. He is a bit allergic to beauty right now, and feels that if a girl's appearance and figure both score less than 90, she won't be able to catch his eye. Wu Yi frowned and turned to Lee Kaming, saying, "Why suddenly do a live broadcast? Even if you want to compete, your body type is so that you can't even do handstands with someone. Have you been hit on the head?" Inside the live broadcast room. As soon as Wu Yi's head appeared, there was no sound in the live broadcast room for a moment. Only Xiaohan's puzzled voice remained. "Yaqian, why did you guys turn off your microphones? Hey, Jojo, why aren't you saying anything?" Then, not long after, Zhao Yaqian's voice came through first. This is so scary. You guys actually made Kaiming brother do such a difficult action. Kaiming brother, don't do it anymore. It makes your sister feel so bad." Lee Kaming froze for a moment, his expression as if he had seen a ghost. Who is this? Is this Yaqian? He actually really wanted to show off his achievements, but considering that it was a live broadcast, he didn't want to break up with the other girls. So he simply shouted, "Everyone, brothers and sisters in the broadcast room, I'm going to the bathroom and will be right back. The Xiaoming brand handstand will be served immediately afterwards." After saying that, he pulled Wu Yi to the door. Phew! Lee Kaming wiped the sweat from his forehead and let out a sigh of relief. He took out a pack of Blue Wolf from his pocket. Wu Yi laughed and said, "Don't you usually smoke Silver Wolf? Why have you changed to Blue Wolf? Everyone says that consumption is downgrading due to the bad economy, so did your father also reduce your living expenses?" Hey, stop it. Lee Kaming squatted directly by the wall in front of the dormitory and made a deep expression. Goodbye. Wu Yi turned around and was about to go back to the dormitory when a hand immediately grabbed the hem of his pants. Lee Kaming's eyes were still gazing deeply ahead, and he exhaled a puff of smoke gently, but his hand was still holding onto his pants tightly. "Damn it, tell me, please, I can't sleep at night if I don't hear what you have to say." Wu Yi rolled his eyes and squatted down next to Lee Kaming. Lee Kaming smiled proudly and said, "Didn't we go to take photos of Yaqian in a Cheongsam yesterday? You know my taste. I've always felt that photos and videos with heavy makeup and retouched skin aren't very realistic. So I used my phone to take a lot of behind-the-scenes footage of Yaqian. After I got back to the dormitory, I edited the footage and added some music and posted it on my TikTok account. Unexpectedly, Yaqian herself got the positive film without fire, but my bloopers unexpectedly became popular. The platform dad gave me 10 million views and added more than 10,000 followers at once." "What bloopers?" Wu Yigang became curious. "Come on, take out your phone." Lee Kaming unceremoniously snatched Wu Yigang's unlocked phone and directly clicked into Douyin. Without doing anything, he was the first to search for and enter his own live broadcast room, following, heart-shaped emoji, heart-shaped emoji. Wu Yi's eyes twitched. Lee Kaming saw Wu Yi's expression. "Damn, don't tell me you're worried about the cost of a 10-cent heart-shaped emoji. Okay, you rebellious son, I love you the most, okay? Cut." At this time, Xiaohan's voice came from the live broadcast room. "Brother Cat, can you give me a heart-shaped emoji?" Chapter 80, Entertainment Companies and Systems are a perfect match. Lee Kaming heard, "A light sign?" Just click into Xiaohan's live broadcast room and you'll get a light sign. "A light sign is sent. Xiaohan, since we're in the same city, let's have dinner together tonight, brother will pay for it." Holy shit. Wu Yi was speechless for a moment and snatched the phone away. "You idiot, you can't even use your own account to make dinner reservations, and you can't even afford to smoke, let alone pay for Huazi?" Lee Kaming laughed and said calmly, "You know why Xiaohan's name is Xiaohan Go? Why? She's telling her brothers that it's useless to make dinner reservations with anyone, because she'll definitely stand them up." Wu Yi glanced over, and sure enough, the live broadcast room was like a deep-fried pan. But he didn't bother to watch it, and instead cut back to Lee Kaming's live broadcast room and clicked on Lee Kaming's avatar. Lee Kaming's account name is I'm Xiaoming. He has already posted 5 videos, and the first one actually has more than 300,000 likes, and the other 4 videos also have tens of thousands of likes. Wu Yi clicked in to take a look and was amused. The video was only about 10 seconds long. And it showed Lee Ka-ming filming another model not far away for about 8 seconds. Then there was a turn of the head, Zhao Yeqian tilted her mouth, crossed her arms, and sneered at her, saying, "Is that sister pretty?" Then the camera shook, and the screen swayed. It was probably Lee Ka-ming who dropped the camera in shock. Not to mention, the effect of the show was still good. And the comments section was full of comments like, "I just love this kind of thing," and "the photographer should just keep shooting." It has to be said that Lee Ka-ming really knows how to edit, and the other 4 videos all show similar angles. The latest 5th video has already had over 30 million views, and it is obviously about to go viral again. Lee Ka-ming saw Wu Yi and smiled. He said with a slight smug look on his face, "I have actually studied in detail why this kind of video can become popular. It is the same effect as having celebrities participate in those variety shows about men running in home life. TikTok has been popular for many years. Many of those attractive hosts have accumulated millions or even tens of millions of followers over the years. Their fans are actually tired of seeing their makeup effects and live broadcast special effects every day, and they are tired of seeing them looking beautiful from every angle. For example, Shanxian has had 3 million followers for a long time. Those 3 million followers have been watching her videos and photos of her beauty every day, and no matter how long they watch, they will get tired of seeing her beauty from every angle. At this time, a video suddenly appeared with this special angle and a slightly cliché plot. Boom! Lee Ka-ming made an exaggerated action and then burst into laughter. Wu Yi was taken aback and was not amused by Lee Ka-ming's appearance. He was also very surprised. Lee Ka-ming had never intended to do an internship because his family was well off. In everyone's eyes, he was a second-generation person who was just waiting to die. Unexpectedly, the problem analysis of this video was quite reasonable. Lee Ka-ming looked around, leaned towards Wu Yi, and lowered his voice. "Brother Cat, I actually discovered a password for traffic here." "Oh? Don't you think if Shanxian can market like this, other girls can market like this too?" "What do you mean?" Lee Ka-ming was about to light another blue wolf. Wu Yi suddenly remembered that the cigarettes that Chen had returned to him were still lying in the corner. He took the whole bag and threw it into Lee Ka-ming's arms. Lee Ka-ming was stunned. Tu Fu Rong Wang. "Brother Cat, what's this?" "I was going to give them to Chen as a token of respect, but he refused, so they've fallen into the hands of his good son." Lee Ka-ming frowned. "This is not good. You can return it if you don't want it, but what about the 400 yuan? Wu Yi smiled. "Didn't I say on the phone last time that I had a grandfather who suddenly returned from abroad? Damn, I think you're being taken care of by some rich woman." Lee Ka-ming didn't bother to be polite anymore, and directly took a pack after unwrapping one. He couldn't wait to open it and pull out a stick, taking a big, satisfying drag. "Huh, go on, didn't you say that other girls also market like this?" Lee Ka-ming nodded. "I studied it all day after the broadcast last night. In fact, I discovered that I'm not the first to do this, but there are many problems here. Many photographers are personal photographers. They get the positive film and the blooper reel, and they just cut and throw them on haphazardly. They don't care if it catches on fire. So almost most of the blooper reels are used by them as a toolkit to attract model traffic. Of course, many models also just hope to have more videos of themselves online, and they are also relying on these photographers to post videos. Overall, some good material is wasted. On the one hand, some photographers have better ideas, but they cannot get the cooperation of the models. After all, everyone's main job is to be a model or photographer. It's fine to get a behind-the-scenes video to say a few words and strike a few poses, but who wants to waste time with you? So, I think that if I had enough capital, I would set up a company that would directly sign up some internet celebrities with a certain base of followers, especially those who have been famous for a long time but are unable to go further, and then every day they can only eat up their followers' capital, and they are anxious as they grow older. Then I would set up a special script team to meticulously plan the plot of these tidbits, and even the live broadcast plot, with twists and turns, and I would make it as explosive as possible. And after that, what?" Lee Ka-ming frowned, scratching his head and grabbing his hair. "I don't know, isn't it said that whoever has traffic these days is a big shot? Let's talk about it when we have traffic." "Awesome." Wu Yi paused for a moment and gave a thumbs up. "It's useless, it's all just idle thinking." Lee Ka-ming got up and threw the cigarette butt in his hand on the ground and stamped it out, his face full of bitterness. Forget about capital, for filming and live streaming, I've spent this month's living expenses on a single shot, and with all the live streaming equipment, I feel like I might starve to death in the dormitory. Li Kaming then noticed that Wu Wei was staring at him with shining eyes. Brother Ming, do you want to start a business? Let's set up an entertainment company. Wu Wei grinned, actually thinking about what to invest in an investment company. After all, he had the system in his hands, and if you were to really start a business with a 90% chance of failure, he definitely would not be interested. Li Kaming's words did remind him. Since it was a system for spending money on women, setting up an entertainment company should be an interesting choice. And see if you can screw that lawn something or other. Li Kaming surveyed Wu Wei several times like he was looking at a fool. Brother Cat, you didn't see that I've even made it to the level of drawing in Lon Wolf, so don't tease me like that. Besides, even if you say so, I don't even dare to think about how much it would cost to sign a net celebrity back, not to mention the cost of just forming the company, forming the script team, and the venue. I'll contribute the funds, you come up with the ideas, and we'll fly together as brothers. Wu Wei said with heroic spirit. Chapter 81, Problems with the Artist Contract. Li Kaming froze for a moment. Contribute? Where's the money from? Wu Wei said impatiently, I already said that I have a grandfather who has returned from abroad, who gave me a large sum of money. You idiot, still trying to fool me, Brother Mao, where have you been lately? You've gone bad. Li Kaming rolled his eyes. I'm going back to broadcast live. I might be able to earn some money for instant noodles. Whether I add a boiled egg or not depends on how well I do handstands. Why don't you scratch my feet for me? Wu Wei was really disgusted and said angrily, if you don't believe me, then leave the cigarettes I bought with my grandfather's money behind first. Li Kaming's body suddenly froze, and he quickly laughed, turned around, and came back to squat next to Wu Wei. Oops, Brother Cat, don't say anything formal. We're good brothers, and your grandfather is my grandfather. Tell me, what did our grandfather want? Wu Wei was speechless after hearing Li Kaming's words. So, I currently have about 100 million yuan in startup capital, and I feel that your idea can really be pursued. Li Kaming is usually smiling, giving people the impression that he is easygoing and cheerful. But in reality, he is very sensitive, good at observing and thinking about things. As can be seen from the way he thinks in this video, he just never puts his abilities to good use. Of course, to Wu Wei, this is just a minor reason. The main thing is that after all, they have been best friends for 4 years, and graduation is just around the corner, so it is only right to give him a hand. Wu Wei simply repeated the story about how he had fooled other girls about his grandfather abroad. Li Kaming's eyes widened, his mouth opened, and it was a long time before he said, really, there really is a grandfather. Wu Wei directly took out his phone and opened the gift level on his TikTok and handed it to Li Kaming. Holy cow, level 69. How much is this? Li Kaming usually just swipes on TikTok, and he also belongs to the Leopard Head Zero charge for the anchors, so he has no concept of it. 7 or 8 million, I guess. Li Kaming was once again stunned. Oh my god, I knew why Xiaohan called you Brother Cat when she first came up here. So that's what it is. Capitalist evil. I spent over an hour trying to convince her to call me Brother Ming, but she wouldn't. Wu Wei laughed. Don't die on me yet. How about it? Do you want to fly with me? Sooner or later, they'll all have to call you Brother Ming. Li Kaming's eyes lit up, but the funny expression on his face was eventually replaced by a serious one. He said with a difficult expression on his face. Of course I want Brother Mao to take me flying, but I'm not going to mess with the company. If you want me to register a company and get these scripts up and running, that's fine, but if you really want to set up an entertainment company, there are a lot of things to consider. Don't worry about that. Wu Wei shook his head. I already have an investment company. You don't have to worry about company registration, finances, even staff recruitment, artist contracts, legal provisions, and so on. Just start by becoming the vice president of operations. All you have to do is make your idea bigger. Without saying more, first see if you can attract these local internet celebrities to join the company, and we'll talk about the follow-up later. Local internet celebrities? Li Kaming thought about it very seriously and said, because Luzhou is a tourist city, it is very suitable for all kinds of street photography and cosplay. And Luzhou's Animation Festival and National Style Festival are also very famous in China. Therefore, there are a lot of local internet celebrities with good looks. Starting with my idea is really possible, but the problem is, how can we attract them to join our company? Wu Wei said, I think you're overthinking it. Look at it now, internet celebrities and celebrities compete for popularity and resources, seemingly to earn more money and fame in the limited time of youth. But in fact, it is the pursuit and unease of their own value. Everyone is going through a phase, especially internet celebrities, especially those with good looks. They are afraid that their youth is passing, that their glory will never return. It takes time, depth, and substance. I think that after 5 years of development, short video can be considered almost universal. There are groups of internet celebrities with this kind of anxiety or who are very confused. At this time, if there is a suitable team with the right conditions and they throw out the olive branch to them, I think most people will want to try, as long as one or two of them succeed. Lee Ka-ming patted his palm with his fist and said, I understand. What you mean is that we should first select a group of people, do our best to promote them, and then let these people do the promotion themselves. Of course, Wu Yi laughed and said, for example, if you and your Yachin could operate this current way of playing, I feel that it would become more and more popular if it could be operated by a team. Not to mention anything else, just take this script and ask that JoJo about it, and I bet she would be willing. Lee Ka-ming hesitated and said, well, anyone would be willing to try, but if it's from a company perspective, who would be willing to operate for you if it weren't for me? I have helped many models before, and they all have some fans. Internet celebrities are not ignorant of the fact that they need to be operated in order to gain traffic. Now the contracts for artists and internet celebrities can only be described as difficult to explain. The company is afraid that the artist will run away once they become famous, and they will be left empty-handed. Therefore, the contract is a tyrannical one-sided agreement. The internet celebrity is also afraid that all their hard work will become the company's wedding dress, so now the company would rather promote them from scratch than approach those who have already become famous. Wu Yi almost laughed out loud when she heard Lee Ka-ming's words. Who is he? He is the person in the world who is least afraid of spending money on women and getting nothing in return. As long as he can strictly control the company's artists at 85 plus. An entertainment company full of girls with a score of 85 or above. Just thinking about it is exciting. With a system in place, why do you care about money? Even if he doesn't take a penny from the girls, just throwing money at them, his rebates will turn him into the richest man. Of course, this is definitely not something that can be done in practice. After all, a company is a company, and there are more than just artists in it. Wu Yi laughed and said, what a long story to tell. It's just a matter of how everyone's money is divided after becoming famous and the restrictions of a long-term contract. I don't have these problems running an entertainment company. I will release extremely generous conditions when I let the legal department draft the contract. Right now, it's just a matter of whether you want to do it together. Lee Ka-ming's eyes revealed a trace of excitement, and he said, Brother Mao, if you're willing to take me with you, I naturally am willing, but I still have to say something. If I have this kind of opportunity, I will do my best to seize it. If I do a good job, my only worry is that I don't have any experience. If I don't do a good job and hold you back, it won't be easy for you to make money. Wu Yi rolled his eyes. Just use the same energy you used to chase girls. Chapter 82, Zhao Yaqian's CP plan? Lee Ka-ming gave a lewd expression on his face. Wu Yi rolled his eyes. But in order not to dampen his enthusiasm, he still said, do a good job, there are plenty of girls. Lee Ka-ming nodded seriously. Brother Cat, I will do a good job. So it's settled? You have time to implement your ideas, and I'll start a group later to get someone to help you register the company together. Great. Lee Ka-ming said and then walked back into the dormitory. My dear friends, your Ming is back. Wu Yi followed up. The dormitory was full of black lines. Damn you, why are you still broadcasting? Why don't you go have hot pot with your distinguished investors, my treat? Lee Ka-ming tilted his head and said with righteous words, no, I told my fans that I would broadcast until 6 o'clock. Since I'm going to start a business, I'd rather be a person with professional ethics. Wu Yi. It's an evening with the sun setting. Luzhou University Girls' Dormitory. Zhao Yaqian is holding an apple and nibbling on it. It's her dinner. Because the National Style Conference is in 2 days, this Luzhou National Style Conference is not like the various small activities at the attractions, amusement parks, and playgrounds that she usually participates in. It is organized by the Luzhou city government and co-sponsored and hosted by various well-known local Luzhou companies such as Taofeng Group, Enyer Group, and Tianhe Media. It is an event with special promotional significance that aims to highlight the traditional cultural style of Longhua. So although this is just a local event, it has still attracted the attention of various media. It is said that even the national media have sent an interview team down, which shows that its popularity will be unprecedented. Although she has more than 3 million followers, in the face of such a major event, she is just a small internet celebrity. Originally, she was only going to appear as an ordinary model for the brand, but because the tidbits from Lee Ka-ming's appearance yesterday exploded, it triggered a small hot topic of Zhao Yeqian being jealous. Just last night, she suddenly received a phone call from the brand saying that she would likely be arranged as the key model and that she should get ready. The so-called key model, in addition to getting paid more, will also be given more outfits, which means more appearances. As an artist, the importance of exposure needs no further explanation. This excited her to no end. You see, ever since she had a falling out with her agency team from Tianhe Media last year, apart from watching her live broadcasts and occasionally sending gifts to increase her popularity, the team has never given her any focus in any activities, let alone such major events. So, in order to make herself look thinner, she didn't even eat any lunch today, and the only thing she's eaten is this apple in her hand. She munched on the apple while interacting with her fans in the live broadcast room. Meow, thanks to brother Tang Hua for the face pinching. Wow, thanks to brother Wind for the hot air balloon, I love you. Lee Ka-ming's live broadcast was something she learned step by step after receiving a phone call from the brand. She actually didn't want to get so close to Lee Ka-ming. But she knew very well that the brand wouldn't have called him for no reason. Most likely, it was because she had been getting a bit of buzz lately, and the brand's purpose in inviting them was to increase their own brand exposure through their own traffic. Having been in the industry for almost 4 years, she knows very well that if she doesn't do anything, this traffic will likely drop rapidly. Whether it can continue in the future is another matter, but for now she desperately needs to maintain this traffic until Friday, otherwise it might really happen. She thought about it for a long time and finally felt that now only the more realistic and dramatic the plot, the more people will love to watch it. In the comments on the video, many people maliciously speculated that she only reacted so strongly because she had a crush on Lee Ka-ming. At first, she even created 2 accounts to troll these people. But now she thinks, since everyone loves this kind of drama, wouldn't it be perfect to go in this direction? Originally, Lee Ka-ming didn't want to, after all, he felt that he didn't have the looks, the talent, or the eloquence. There was no other way, so she had to trick Lee Ka-ming, saying that if he wanted to be a great photographer, he definitely couldn't just photograph himself, he had to go live streaming and get to know the other models to improve his relationships with them. Otherwise, when you participate in activities later, the models won't know you, so who will want to cooperate with you, let alone if you want to ask someone out for a private shoot? Zhao Yeqian was also very helpless. Although she didn't think highly of Lee Ka-ming's photography skills were really good, and he also did a good job retouching the photos. In her original plan, she just wanted Lee Ka-ming to photograph her alone. Seeing Lee Ka-ming's eyes light up after hearing about asking a girl out for a private shoot, she wanted to kick him to death. But the goal was achieved, and Lee Ka-ming went live that night. The effect was really good. Lee Ka-ming's image of a fat and round guy, coupled with the appearance of a loser who knew nothing about live streaming for the first time, and his own cooperation in saying a few words about green tea, caused the CP plot to explode instantly. The number of people online in his own live broadcast room directly topped 5,000 that night, with people eating CP melons. Even the person in charge of the brand came over to give a carnival. This made her so excited. The sound of 2 other anchors egging each other on could be heard in the broadcast room. Jojo, Xiaoming, you said you'd do handstands if you lost, and if you chicken out, I'll tell all my friends not to cheer for you. Xiaohan, 9494, we're all your fans, can you bear to see us disappointed? Needless to say, Lee Ka-ming's figure definitely couldn't stand up. The flesh on his belly shook, but he just couldn't lean on himself. The broadcast room was filled with giggles. 99, cackling, Yeqian, your Xiaoming is about to pass out, don't you feel a little sorry for him? Humph, what does he have to do with me, he's already become part of your family. Zhao Yeqian felt a little bit offended, but seeing that Lee Ka-ming didn't care at all and was happily flirting with Xiaohan, she was furious. I'll do it if I want to, and I'll make you suffer. Suddenly, Lee Ka-ming's handstand came to a halt. There was a clear sound of holy cow in the live broadcast room, and Brother Mao, you're finally back. Zhao Yeqian froze for a moment, thinking she had heard it wrong. When she saw Wu Yi's figure flash past in Lee Ka-ming's live broadcast room, she was startled, and the apple in her hand slipped and fell. Immediately afterwards, there was a faint conversation. Zhao Yeqian couldn't even think about eating the apple at the moment. She quickly left the live broadcast room. She quickly picked up a mirror, quickly checked her makeup, added a little lipstick, and thought about it. Brother Cat seemed to have said the other day that he didn't like women who overdo their beauty. She quickly lowered the special effects in her phone to a level she could accept. Made sure she was flawless, and then opened the live broadcast room again. With the tone of a good friend, she shouted, "Kai Ming, don't be too reluctant. These people just love to tease people. We can pretty much stop now." 9-9. Xiao Han. Chapter 83, Isn't It Just a Lamp? Zhao Yeqian deliberately spoke loudly, hoping to get Wu Yi's attention. But before she finished speaking, Zhao Yeqian looked over and almost lost her temper. Li Keiming left a comment saying that he needed to go to the bathroom, and then he dragged Brother Cat out of the dormitory. "What are you doing going to the bathroom with Brother Cat?" Xiao Han was furious. "Look, Xiao Ming is about to roll over, everyone go to his live broadcast room and flood the screen so that he doesn't have to roll over." Li Keiming's live broadcast room suddenly had a bunch of Xiaohan's fans, and the words "Don't roll over" were flashing crazily on the screen. Xiaohan was laughing so hard that her body was shaking. At that moment, Zhao Yeqian's voice came over the screen. "Xiaohan, why are you acting like this? Keiming just did it, didn't he? How can you bully my friend like this?" Xiaohan froze for a moment. What kind of plot was this? Didn't you all just stir up trouble? Didn't Yeqian just say that she wouldn't let him eat if he rolled around until the night? Zhao Yeqian covered her mouth and made a shocked expression. Did I? Keiming and I are good friends, how could I possibly ask for something so bad? Xiaohan felt a little irritated and thought about finding Jiujiu to join her side. But Jiujiu just smiled and said nothing. "Xiaohan, Jiujiu, why are you not saying anything? Do you think I'm right?" Jiujiu first said that she had watched Zhao Yeqian's live broadcast and suddenly noticed that Zhao Yeqian had lowered the special effects in the broadcast room and retouched her makeup. That was a bit strange. She blinked her eyes and gave a slight smile. "No, I've always been shy, and I think Yeqian is right, what you're asking Minga is too much." "Minga? My request." Xiaohan. Suddenly, Xiaohan noticed that the live broadcast room had suddenly been flooded with comments. "Brother Cat is here. Brother Cat is here. Brother Cat is here, times 99. Xiaohan, Brother Cat is in Xiaoming's live broadcast room. Xiaohan, hurry up and dance the body shaming you just learned 3 times. I heard that Brother Cat likes it best. One dance and Hua Zi will be gone. You're talking nonsense. Brother Cat likes watching people clean windows. If Xiaohan dances while cleaning windows, Brother Cat will definitely be attracted to her." Xiaohan, really? Really, times 56. Xiaohan looked confused. Of course she knew about Brother Cat. In the past 2 days, the mysterious and charismatic Brother Cat had been in the top 10 trending topics almost every day. She watched as the number of people in her live broadcast room suddenly increased from 300 to 500. Xiaohan swallowed, thinking to herself, should I jump in? While she was still thinking, she heard Jiujiu's voice in her ear. "Welcome, Cat Brother, come and play. When you have time, come back to Jiujiu's live broadcast room and visit. Jiujiu still hasn't let you do the punishment from last time. Then Zhao Yeqian's voice followed, "Welcome, Cat Brother. If you get tired of playing with Xiaoming, remember to come back and visit Xianxian's house." Xiaohan quickly shouted back, "Welcome, Brother Cat." She was a little embarrassed. It seemed that both Jiujiu and Yeqian had received gifts from Brother Cat, and she didn't know what to shout, since he had never visited her live broadcast room. Just then, the live broadcast room was flooded with messages again. "Holy cow, Brother Cat gave out fan lightboards. No way, Brother Cat gave out fan lightboards? Ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter, so many girls wanted the light sign but didn't get it, and Brother Cat gave it to a fat photographer for the first time. It's not that Brother Cat likes to see handstands, is it? It has to be the kind where the fat guy brings his own show effect? Xiaohan, here's your chance, hurry up and ask Brother Cat to send you one too." Jiujiu frowned a little strangely. She hadn't seen Brother Cat give the light sign. What was strange was that Brother Cat had been here for so long, and the gift still hadn't floated up on the screen? Zhao Yeqian rolled her eyes and cursed Li Keiming in her heart. She knew with her toes that Li Keiming must have taken Wu Yi's phone and given it to himself. She was thinking about using it herself when they had dinner together sometime. "A light sign is only worth a dime, why are you all so excited?" Xiaohan asked curiously. Zhao Yeqian burst out laughing. "Yes, why don't you and Jiujiu ask Brother Cat for a light sign too?" Zhao Yaqian smiled crookedly, shouting in her heart. If you can take my surname. Zhao Yaqian was slightly smug. In the live broadcast room, there were tens of thousands of people, and she was probably the only one who knew that Brother Cat was the young man from earlier and that they were classmates. Hearing Zhao Yaqian's words, Jojo raised his eyebrows slightly and smiled faintly. Yaqian, why don't you ask for it? Maybe Brother Cat will give it to you too. After all, you and Brother Ming are good friends in real life, weren't you two the scandalous couple last night? Zhao Yaqian, how dare I? It only makes sense for you to ask for it. Brother Cat loves you the most. He gave you 1,000 carnival points for beating me, and don't spread rumors, I'm just good friends with Kaming. Jojo snorted coldly, you want to act, do you? So she also showed a slightly angry expression on her face. Yaqian, you're not right to do this. If Brother Cat wants to give you a light sign, he will naturally do so. It's his freedom to give it to whom and when he wants. How can we force him to do it? That's too much. Zhao Yaqian. Okay. Xiao Han looked surprised. It's just a light sign, isn't it? So he shouted into the live broadcast room. Brother Cat, can you give me a light sign? Jojo and Zhao Yaqian were taken aback. They didn't expect Xiao Han to actually ask for one. The two immediately took another phone and clicked into Xiao Han's live broadcast room to see what was going on. Their eyes widened for a moment. Level 69, Early Morning Cat joined the live broadcast room. Early Morning Cat sent a fan light sign. Early Morning Cat, the light sign is sent. Xiao Han, since we are in the same city, let's have dinner together tonight. I'll treat you to Huazi. Puff. Zhao Yaqian's mouthful of water, which she had not had time to swallow, sprayed directly onto her phone screen. A hint of anger appeared on her face, and she then shouted into the live broadcast room, Li Kaming. If you mess with Brother Cat's phone again, I'll go to your dormitory and get you. As soon as she finished speaking, Zhao Yaqian hurriedly covered her mouth. Jojo paused for a moment, and quickly understood what Zhao Yaqian meant. The young man who had appeared in the dormitory not long ago could not help but pop into her mind. Oh my god. Didn't the news on the internet say that Brother Cat is a business executive in his 50s? She also had Brother Cat's WeChat account, but she didn't ask about his well-being like everyone else. Because she was originally thinking about how to keep Brother Cat, but since Brother Cat had the habit of swiping right and leaving, and she heard that Brother Cat was old enough to be her father, she still felt a bit resistant inside. She thought that she had earned more than 1 million yuan anyway, and no one could earn a second round, and she still felt very lucky. But now it's different. Cat Brother is a young handsome guy, and he's so close to her. Thinking about this, Jojo took out her phone and sent a message to Cat Brother, who she had only said hello to. Hi Cat Brother, I just saw you go to Xiaoming's live broadcast room. Oh, you won't forget Jojo, will you? Zhao Yaqian's face turned red. She had shouted in vain, and Li Kaming probably hadn't even heard her. She looked at Jojo's expression across the live broadcast room, which looked like a smile but wasn't. Zhao Yaqian thought about it for a moment and immediately sent a message to Wu Yi. Brother Cat, I just saw you in the dormitory. Why are you free to come back to school today? Did Chen tell you to come back? Chen also asked me to change the text yesterday, and you helped me find the text before. When are you free? Can you help me look at it again? No reply. Chapter 84, Do you all want hot pot? The atmosphere in the broadcast room was a bit awkward. Zhao Yaqian stopped talking and just looked at the screen of the other phone without wiping the water off, not knowing what to do. Jojo was just saying thank you to the fans who sent gifts in a random manner, and her eyes were also looking at her phone. Xiao Han also had a troubled look on her face. She didn't know what Zhao Yaqian meant by that sentence. And she didn't have time to think about it. In her broadcast room, because Brother Cat had posted a message asking if they could have dinner together, the screen was now full of messages agreeing to meet up with Brother Cat. Xiao Han's face was flushed, and she thought to herself that everyone said Brother Cat was a lecher, and that he had directly asked her out in Huang Yueyao's broadcast room before. But then again, Brother Cat was said to be the most difficult godlike celebrity to maintain a relationship with, and after Huang Yueyao reportedly rejected him, Brother Cat never went to her broadcasts again. But today, Cat sent himself a light sign. Originally, she didn't know, but just now, after searching, she realized that Cat's light sign is even more precious than if he sent her 1,000 huazi. A light sign represents the meaning that Cat will probably come back. You have to know that Cat now enters the live broadcast room with 100 huazi as a starting point. Should I say yes to Kat? But what if he doesn't just want to eat? Xiaohan was torn between feelings, feeling like she was going crazy, but then she thought, you asked Huang Yueyao out and at least gave her a few hundred huazi, but you only gave me a lamp sign? Although online it says that the value of the lamp sign is greater than 1,000 huazi, but a lamp sign is just a lamp sign, it's only worth a dime. Xiaohan felt like she was going to crash. Luckily at this time, a voice came from Xiao Ming's live broadcast room. It sounded like Xiao Ming's roommate was calling him to eat, but Xiao Ming said he wanted to go live, and he refused with righteous words, saying that he wanted to be a person of integrity. Ladies, I'm back after a long wait. Holy shit, what's going on? There are 20,000 people in the live broadcast room? Li Keiming rubbed his eyes and confirmed several times that there were indeed 20,000 people. The hatred instantly shifted. Xiaohan crossed her arms. Xiao Ming, we were just discussing whether we should go to the toilet at Lujiang University to catch you, the rolling cutter, and bring you back. Look, more than 20,000 people are watching to see if you'll roll the cutter. Xiao Ming, ouch, little sister Xiaohan, I, Xiao Ming, am a man of integrity, how could I roll the cutter? Xiaohan, really? Then are you going to do the punishment? Jojo, Yakian, aren't you? Li Keiming's sweat came back. You guys still want me to do handstands? You're bullying an honest person like me. Jojo, Xiaohan, why are you like this? Wasn't it just a joke? What did Ming do? Come on, forget it, Ming, how about a different punishment? Just do 10 squats? Xiaohan? Xiao Ming? Zhao Yaqian, yes, Xiaohan is really bad. Kai Ming, just do 5 squats. I just saw you doing handstands and you were sweating all over, it broke my heart. Xiaohan. Kai Ming? Just as everyone was at a loss, a prompt appeared simultaneously on the live streams of the 4 of them. Midnight Cat sent Carnival *100 to February's Little Bones' livestream. Jojo. Xiaohan. Zhao Yaqian. Zhao Yaqian and Jojo sighed at the same time. They were basically certain that Brother Cat just didn't want to deal with them, but he had actually been there the whole time. Zhao Yaqian rolled her eyes, took a deep breath, and decided that she would have to rely on Li Keiming after all. She immediately sent a message to Li Keiming. Brother Cat is back in the dormitory? Li Keiming saw the message pop up in the live broadcast room, and he was startled. Without bothering to find out whether the cat in the early morning of the carnival was Brother Cat or not, he quickly uninstalled the app and replied. Yes, he's been back for a while. Still in the dormitory? Yes, lying on the bed playing with his phone? Do you need to find him for something? Nothing, just asking. Keiming, Jojo, and Xiaohan are just teasing people. Let's not broadcast it, okay? I didn't thank you for taking my picture yesterday, so how about I treat you to dinner tonight? Li Keiming froze for a moment. Didn't you say you had an event on Friday and you had to go on a diet these 2 days? But I suddenly want to eat hot pot, so just say you'll go with me. Sweat, Cat Brother also just said he wanted to eat hot pot with me. I'll talk to him about it, we can eat with him next time. Brother Ming, it's all their fault for causing a scene just now, I'm sorry. Didn't you say you wanted to treat me to dinner? How about tonight? I'm in the mood for hot pot. You mentioned going on a photo shoot together this afternoon, and it just occurred to me that I'm free at the weekend. Let's chat about the style and location over dinner. Li Keiming's breathing suddenly quickened. A private photo shoot. But then he froze. What's going on? Why does everyone want to eat hot pot? Back at the dormitory. Li Keiming looked like he was contributing to the cause, so Wu Yi just let him go. But it was only a little after 5, so dinner was definitely a bit early. He had wanted to tidy up, but after standing by his bed for a while, he realized that he didn't have anything to tidy up. He guessed that the small trunk of the Koenigsegg would be full by the time they were done. He didn't bother to study either, so he lay down on the bed, using the quilt as a backrest, and opened WeChat. At first glance, he saw the messages from Zhao Yaqian and Jojo. Wu Yi glanced up at Li Keiming, who was smiling sweetly at Xiaohan. Although Li Keiming had ideas, after all, he had no experience managing an entertainment company or getting along with artists. Right now, Li Keiming still felt that he had no status and was in a state of pure adulation towards these ordinary internet celebrities. he felt that he still had to help him improve a little. And there is the question of how to set the contract with the artist. I really need to show the entertainment company results quickly. I feel that the position of general manager still needs someone with some industry experience. Thinking about this, Wooey directly ignored the news about Zhao Yaqian and Jiu Jiu. Scrolling down, there was a message from Sophie at 4 o'clock. Big bad guy, the paperwork is done. I am now a rich woman worth several hundred million. The rich woman is treating you to dinner tonight. Let's discuss what to buy for the villa. Well, we're having dinner with the guys from the dormitory tonight. Second reply, oh, I see. You must be having fun. Picture *1. Wooey clicked to see it. It was a photo of Sophie in her own rented room wearing tight loungewear and leather gloves. However, the angle of the photo, from top to bottom, just happened to show off Sophie's curvy figure. Chapter 85, Xiaobon is coming to Luzhou. Wooey looked at the photo and smiled slightly. The changes in Sophie were quite obvious, but there was still something missing. However, he didn't intend to say anything to Sophie and replied. You're home. Yes, aren't we moving? Ha, my roommate might be surprised when she comes back. She messaged me yesterday saying she was moving, so I'm not sure if I'll have already moved when she gets back. I guess I'll need to buy some things for the villa before I can move in. I saw today that the guy from Ding's River said he'd give me all the furniture for free, but I don't even see a bed in the master bedroom. Don't worry, I always thought I had very few things. But after taking a quick look, I realized that I've saved up a lot over the past 2 years here, and I guess I'll need a couple of days to pack. Haha, you go ahead and pack. I'll come over and help you move. There's not much there to move to the villa. Great, I'll get packing then, working hard. After closing Sophie's chat interface, Wooey hurriedly looked for the message. He then remembered that Anan had said yesterday that she was going to Beijing on the same flight as him today. Sure enough, Anan had sent him a message too. The messages came from morning to afternoon. Hubby, my flight has arrived in Beijing. Oh, it's so cold in Beijing, I should have brought a thick jacket. Hubby, do you think I look pretty today? Picture *4. Honey, I'm going out with my colleagues to go shopping. Picture *1. 4 of the 5 pictures are selfies of Anan wearing a flight attendant uniform on a plane or in the terminal. The last picture shows Anan arriving at the hotel and taking a picture in the bathroom of her room, wearing a turtleneck sweater and black stockings. The sweater barely covers her bottom. Her long legs were slightly raised in an enchanting pose that made Wooey feel a little flushed. Wooey smiled and replied. You little wildcat, you're punished. Wear it again when you come back. Oh, I didn't bring a jacket, so I'll go buy some more. Don't catch a cold. Transfer 666,666. Wooey didn't wait for the system to prompt him, as he didn't think Anan would see the message or claim the reward. But for him, this kind of small cashback is no longer interesting. After reading some irrelevant information in the group for a few more times, Wooey closed WeChat and clicked into the short video app. He had just entered. The first push was actually Xiaogo's live broadcast in February. It seems that Xiaogo was playing PK at this time, and coincidentally, the opponent of the PK was Huang Yueyao. Wooey looked at it and it seemed that Xiaogo was in an environment like an airport terminal. Little Bone's still round face was framed by a pair of bright, starry eyes, and her long black hair had been carefully styled into a playful low ponytail, adding a touch of liveliness to her. Today she was wearing a sky blue dress, with a small bow carefully pinned at the neckline, looking very sweet. And Huang Yueyao was surprisingly just doing an audio broadcast. Today, Xiaogo's live streaming style has changed from her previous sharp teeth and fangs. She waved her other little fist, and shouted excitedly in the live streaming room. Ah, family members, we cannot lose this PK, we cannot lose, we cannot lose. Family members, don't be confused by the big brother on the other side. I am not the most beautiful girl in Guofeng. I sent this voice message to Brother Mao, and Brother Mao will directly delete me. Please, let Yao Yao send it herself. Huang Yueyao, Little Bones, if you lose, all you have to do is send a voice message to ask for a light sign, so why get so excited? Little Bones, Yueyao, you're bullying me again. You clearly said you just wanted a light sign, you never said anything about a salutation. Huang Yueyao, Kiki, everyone in the live broadcast room can testify, it's your fault for getting stuck. Little Bones, the airport signal has always been like this, it doesn't count, let's set a new punishment. Huang Yueyao, that's something for the next game, or you can just quit. I don't know who said they were the most honest person in the universe and never quit. Pretty girl. She clicked into the live broadcast room and casually read the comments. Wu Weisun smiled. The two of them had originally just connected at the airport to chat, but after she had given Li Kaming and Xiaohan their light signs, Huang Yueyao suddenly proposed a game of picking on, a Chinese game where two people compete to see who can get the most likes on a post. The loser would have to ask Cat Brother for a light sign on WeChat. It seems that Xiaogo's signal card got stuck, so Huang Yueyao took the opportunity to add another one. When asking Cat Brother for the light card, you have to use voice, and you have to call Cat Brother Cat Baby. But Xiaogo is indeed a bit simple. If other anchors had encountered this, they would have refused long ago. Xiaogo was forced to fight in the PK, but how could he beat it when one fan had millions and the other had hundreds of thousands? The score on the field was 79-88 to 59031. Level 69, Early Morning Cat joins the broadcast room. Little Bone was just begging for mercy. After seeing the prompt, he got so excited that he jumped up and down, and the sunglasses he was wearing flew off his head. It was a while before he revealed his slightly embarrassed face. Welcome, Cat, to come and see Little Bone again. Early Morning Cat gives out 100 carnivals. Early Morning Cat gives out one fan light sign. Ah, you yao, Cat Brother gave me a fan light sign, and I also have Cat Brother's fan light sign. Thank you, Cat Brother, for the fan light sign, and thank you, Cat Brother, for giving Xiaobone 100 carnivals. Huang Yuyao, Cat Brother Yuyao is seeking benefits for you again. How can you cheat yourself? Xiaobone, it seems like Cat Brother is gone. Huang Yuyao. Wu Yi had already scrolled to watch other recommended videos. Although he had only been using the system for a few days, the impact of the capital expansion and the gathering of offline girls had made him less eager to use the platform to gift now. However, before he had scrolled through many videos, a WeChat notification popped up. And Wu Yi gave a small smile. Little Bone, Cat Brother, you've gifted again and run away, leaving Yao Yao so angry that she's gone off air and started rolling around, ha. I can see that you're very happy. Have you stopped streaming? We're boarding the plane, of course I'm happy. Tell her to stop bullying me. But I'm protected by Cat Brother, I'm not afraid of him, arrogant, cold and heartless. Haha, but where are you going? Oops, I've been exposed. Exposed? Never mind, I still want to surprise Cat Brother. Since you've asked, I'll tell you in advance, I'm going to Luzhou. Wu Yi is stunned for a moment. Really? What are you doing in Luzhou? Luzhou recently held a national style conference, and I was invited as a model. Isn't that awesome? Ha, I thought minors weren't allowed to participate. Are you entering the children's division? Punch you, who's a minor? I'm 20, okay. I'll fly at 6 o'clock and arrive at 7:30. I guess I won't be able to leave the airport until 8 o'clock after I pick up my luggage. Brother Mao, you're treating, so of course I'll go with you. Okay, but I have something to do here, so I can't pick you up at the airport. How about I ask someone else to pick you up? No, I have a friend picking me up. Oh, I can bring my friend along, I was planning to go to dinner with her. Great, I have a friend here too, I'll send you the address later. Great, see you soon, I'm looking forward to it, I can finally meet Cat in person, evil laugh. Chapter 86 Huang Yueyao's Compromise. Amidst the hustle and bustle of Shanghai Pudong International Airport, a girl sits alone in the corner of the waiting room. Her face is delicate and refined, with an otherworldly air about her. Her long hair flows like a waterfall, naturally curling around her shoulders, adding a touch of spontaneity and uninhibitedness. Despite the noisy airport environment, the loud voices and the sound of the broadcast could not break her tranquility. She sat quietly, expressionless, without a movement, just silently staring ahead. Her eyes revealed a preoccupied look, as if she had nothing to do with all the hustle and bustle of the world. The girl was Huang Yueyao, who had just had a fight with Xiaogo. At this time, a girl with black-framed glasses, wearing a casual suit and jeans, appeared in front of Huang Yueyao. After handing Huang Yueyao a glass of freshly squeezed orange juice, the girl sat down next to her and said, "Here, to ensure a better image for the day after tomorrow, this is all there is for dinner today." The girl was Huang Yueyao's assistant, Chen Jinjin. Huang Yueyao looked at the juice, sighed, and still said, "Thank you, Sister Jane." Yo-yo, don't be upset. If you get any fatter now, your face will round out, and the brand owners won't know what to say then. Hey, Jane, that's not what I meant. Huang Yueyao suddenly sat up straight, looking aggrieved as she said to Chen Jinjin, "Jane, Brother Cat went to Little Bone's live broadcast room again, and he just kept hitting me for Little Bone. Chen Jinjin paused for a moment, and asked in confusion, "You mean the famous cat?" She was obviously a little surprised by the situation. Well, this time he didn't even bother to respond to me. Huang Yueyao's voice was a little choked up, and she was obviously very much affected. Chen Jinjin sat down next to Huang Yueyao and, after a moment's thought, asked, "Has he asked you out again in the past 2 days?" Huang Yueyao shook her head. Chen Jinjin frowned, as if she had thought of something, and said with some dissatisfaction, "Yueyao, you haven't even told Cat about going to Luzhou, have you?" "No. No." Huang Yueyao's voice was almost inaudible. "That's it, what do you think? Last night you told me that the most important thing about coming to Luzhou was to meet Brother Cat, didn't you?" Chen Jinjin's words revealed some dissatisfaction and helplessness. I was wondering if it was too soon." Huang Yueyao's voice trembled a little, and her internal struggle and entanglement were clearly visible. Chen Jinjin sighed after hearing this and said, "Yodo, in fact, this is your own private life, and I shouldn't say anything. But I also stand from a woman's perspective and really want to say something. You think about it, you work so hard every day, running from activity to activity, but for what? You've been busy for months and still haven't earned as much as Brother Cat from a single live broadcast. And there's another truth, these big brothers who can easily spend tens of millions in a live broadcast aren't the only ones. Not to mention the women on the platform, but in reality, women who want to be paid for their time are definitely lining up. If you drag him along today, and when he loses that little bit of novelty he feels for you tomorrow, I don't think he'll have time to cry." Huang Yueyao was silent after hearing this. She knew that Chen Jinjin was telling the truth. She knew too well the importance of opportunities in the world of show business. In the end, Huang Yueyao took a deep breath, looked up at Chen Jinjin, and her eyes shone with determination. "I understand." On the other side, Wu Yi had just exited the chat interface with Xiaogo and immediately received a message from Huang Yueyao. "Cute, Cat brother, you're a bit naughty, why did you help Little Bone hit me again? Little Bone is my younger sister, if I don't help her, would I help you? Oh, I'm so jealous of Little Bone for having a brother like you, but I've already made up my mind, I'm really going to Luzhou to find Cat brother this time." Picture, *1. Wu Yi clicked to view it, and her face fell. In the picture, Huang Yueyao cleverly only revealed half of her face and one arm, with most of the background being the boarding entrance. Her face did not appear in the photo, which was obviously a small strategy on her part. However, such tactics were just child's play in Wu Yi's eyes. Wu Yi had experienced a lot in the past few days, and he was already tired of such petty tricks. He replied directly, "If you don't know how to take a picture, go learn how before coming to Luzhou, otherwise I might not have time." There was a hint of teasing in his words, but more of it was impatience and disappointment. At this time, Huang Yueyao, who was at the airport, saw the message and her phone shook. She was already nervous, and now she was even more nervous. Habitually, she wanted to play some tricks, but she didn't expect Brother Cat to not respond at all. Chen Jinjin stuck her head over and looked, almost losing her temper. "I said, Yaya, you just told me you understood, and you showed Big Brother this? The artistic photos you posted on the platform all have a more erotic feel than this." Huang Yueyao couldn't help laughing and crying. "Of course I know, and I have a lot of artistic photos on my phone, but not just anyone can see those kinds of photos. Showing them to Big Brother should be a private gesture to show that you care. Wow, you have to give Big Brother a sense of uniqueness." After hearing this, Chen Jinjin stood up without saying a word and walked away. "Where are you going?" Huang Yueyao asked in puzzlement. "Go to the toilet and take your picture," Chen Jinjin urged. "But the announcement just said that boarding was allowed. Are you stupid? Is boarding that important? Do you want Cat to delete you as a friend?" Huang Yueyao was taken aback by Chen Jinjin's words, but she quickly caught up with her. Wu Yi waited for a little while, and just as she was about to exit the chat interface, Huang Yueyao's message came through again. "Cat, I didn't take a good photo just now, so is it okay if Yueyao retakes it?" Photo. Wu Yi clicked to view it, and there was her teacher smiling, showing that she was teachable. The picture shows Huang Yueyao taking a selfie in the bathroom in front of the mirror. From the picture, Huang Yueyao is wearing a white zipper jacket today, and inside is a crop top. For the sake of the photo, Huang Yueyao has unzipped the jacket completely in half, hung it over her arm. She then deliberately pulled the left strap over her upper arm, revealing one smooth, pale shoulder and a large part of the left side of her chest. Huang Yueyao's head tilted slightly upwards, and at this moment, her somewhat ethereal face carried a hint of arrogance, especially the little tongue that slightly licked her lips, giving the whole face an extremely seductive feel. Contrast. Wu Yi grinned. But since he had already seen an An's before, it was still a bit less interesting to look at Huang Yueyao now. No rush, take your time. Wu Yi replied, that's more like it, I suddenly feel like I have some free time. Oh, brother cat, you're so mean. I went to Lujiang just to look for you. Just? I thought you were here for the Guofeng conference. Embarrassed, how did you know? Just now Xiaobon said that she was also at the airport. By the way, what time will you arrive? I'll invite Xiaobon to dinner later. You can come too. Cat, can't we just have some time alone? I have so much to tell you, and I've brought along some really nice outfits. You're so understanding. But dinner is dinner, and I'm not the kind of person who would stand someone up over something as trivial as looking at clothes. Besides, you can only really appreciate clothes when you see them in a hotel room. Okay, let's eat first. Hee hee, just looking at clothes. Okay, I promise, I'm an honest person. I almost believed you. Okay, I seem to be getting off the plane at about the same time as you, little bones. Are you going to come pick us up? Looking forward to it. I'm busy. Brother cat, transfer 66,666. Bus fare. Let's have dinner tomorrow night. Huang Yueyao. Chapter 87. Once there are too many sisters, it's really busy. Wu Yizheng was having a good chat. When he looked up, Li Keiming's long face suddenly appeared by the bed, which scared him. Fuck, what are you doing? Wu Yi discovered that Li Keiming had actually turned off the live broadcast. When he looked at the time, it was only 5:40. Didn't you say you wanted to uphold professional ethics? Why did you stop broadcasting? Li Keiming was full of confusion. Brother cat, I've encountered a problem in life. An hour later. In front of Lujiang University, Li Keiming and Zhao Yeqian were already waiting at the door. In order to solve Li Keiming's life problem, Wu Yi could only suggest that they simply call everyone up. Because of the large number of people, he felt for the first time that sports cars were not that good sometimes. At least when you bring a girl, you can only bring one. So he asked Wu Lily to arrange for a car to be driven over, while he went off campus to fetch his own car. In a short while, a Didi car pulled up steadily next to Li Keiming. The door opened gently, and two beautiful figures stepped out. The owners of the figures were Jiao and Xiaohan. Jiao was wearing a tight short skirt today, with a pair of high heels, which made her look slender and graceful. In particular, her long, slender legs, paired with black stockings, were a sight to behold the moment she got out of the car. Xiaohan was wearing a cute printed dress and a pair of white sneakers, looking fresh, playful and very beautiful. The arrival of the two of them was like a refreshing breeze, instantly adding a few colors to the entrance of Lujiang University and attracting the attention of countless students. Jiao was the first to say hello. Hi, Yeqian. Ah, this is Minga, right? Minga is even more handsome in person than in the live broadcast. Hello, Yeqian. Hello, Minga. Xiaohan's voice was very clear. He waved his hands at Yeqian and Xiaoming to say hello, but his eyes darted around as if he was looking for something. Xiaoming's face showed a smug expression. No way, it's Jiao and Xiaohan who are the most beautiful, they're dazzling me. Li Keiming suddenly felt like his waist had been twisted, and let out a scream. Seeing Li Keiming staring at Jiao's black silk and about to drool, Zhao Yeqian cursed in her heart. Then she looked at the sweater and skirt she was wearing, and the trench coat she was wearing over it. They all looked so heavy and bulky, and she suddenly felt a strong desire to go home and change. Are we just the four of us? I thought there was another roommate of Ming's? Jiao looked around and asked knowingly. Li Keiming was about to speak when Zhao Yeqian stopped him. Zhao Yeqian gave a small smile and said, "Oh, Keiming's roommate had something come up and couldn't make it." Jiao froze for a moment. Couldn't make it? Yes, why don't you go back, it's just that Keiming and I are going to have a dinner for two. Jiao saw Li Keiming's somewhat unnatural gaze and immediately thought of something. Smiling slightly, she said, "That won't do, it's rare for everyone to make an appointment, we want to have dinner with Brother Ming, not with his roommate, if his roommate doesn't come, then he doesn't come." Zhao Yeqian rolled her eyes, and said, "You're just making it up." Li Keiming laughed and said, "Chanxian is just joking. Brother Mao went to get the car and will be here soon." At this time, a Maybach slowly drove over and stopped next to the group of people. Li Kaming and the others hurriedly made way for the car door, and couldn't help but feel a little curious. A figure got out of the driver's seat, and it was Wu Lily, Wu Yi's secretary at China Merchants Bank. She was still wearing the same professional suit as today, with her curvy figure and beautiful appearance. She stepped in high heels and came to Xiao Ming, smiling slightly. "Mr. Ming." Wu Lily's voice was sweet and pleasant, like a spring breeze. Li Kaming froze for a moment, a little unable to believe his ears. He stuttered and asked, You're calling me?" Wu Lily smiled and said, "Yes, Mr. Wu explained that this Maybach will be your company car starting today." "A Maybach as a company car?" Xiaohan covered her mouth in surprise, and Jojo stared at the luxury car in amazement. "Wow, Brother Ming is amazing!" Jojo exclaimed. Li Kaming was secretly delighted, thinking to himself that Cat Brother is really a good friend. He felt like he was about to reach the climax of his life. The only person present with a head full of question marks was Zhao Yaqian. Of course she knew that Wu meant Wu Yi, but why would Wu Yi give Li Kaming a company car? Just then, a roar broke the original tranquility. A silver-white Koenigsegg hypercar pulled up behind the Maybach. The silver-white body gleamed in the sunlight, like two bright shooting stars, instantly lighting up the entrance to Lujiang University. Almost all the students passing by stopped in their tracks. After all, whether in terms of design or temperament, the Koenigsegg was extraordinary and not comparable to ordinary hypercars. Most people had never even heard of it. Wu Yi calmly stepped out of the driver's seat of the Koenigsegg, and his noble temperament was hard to hide in his casual attire. He gave a slight smile, like the spring breeze on the face, and the affinity and domineering nature revealed in that smile made people instantly feel his extraordinary charm. Except for Wu Lily. Li Kaming, Zhao Yaqian, Jojo, and Xiaohan once again widened their eyes. Zhao Yaqian waved her hand at the first opportunity and sweetly called out, "Brother Cat." Jojo was not as excited as Zhao Yaqian, and very graciously introduced herself. "Hi, Cat Brother, it's finally a pleasure to meet you. My name is Qin Luoxiao, you can just call me Jojo." Xiaohan said a little shyly, "Hello, Cat Brother, my name is Xinlihan, you can call me Xiaohan or Hanin." Ding, detected a beauty with a score of 85 or above. Name, Qin Luoxiao. Age, 25. Face Value Index, 90. Body Index, 83. Desire for money, 72. Host favorability, 0. Physical health, healthy. Ding, a beauty with over 85 points has been detected. Name, Xinlihan. Age, 23. Face Value Index, 92. Body Index, 87. Desire for money, 60. Host favorability, 0. Physical health, healthy. Ding, Qin Xiaolu's favorability towards the host has increased by 60. Ding, Xinlihan's favorability towards the host has increased by 35. Ding, Zhao Yaqian's favorability towards the host has increased by 10. Wu Yi heard the system's prompt tone and was not surprised. Jojo's favorability towards her had skyrocketed. After all, this was the first offline meeting between the real Big Brother and the internet celebrity, and all the huazi she had previously sent out would be redeemed together. Wu Yi sized up the two of them. Jojo is good-looking, but her figure is not that great. The plus point is her long legs in black stockings. But in fact, if you look carefully, all three women in front of you have long legs. After all, they are all former models. The only one with a relatively high overall appearance is Xiaohan. But now he is a bit picky about girls. Unless you have an incredible appearance and figure, or an interesting soul, it is difficult to arouse his interest. Moreover, in 2 hours, 2 more girls will come. Busy. Chapter 88, The Seat-Sharing Controversy at Koenigsegg. Thinking this way, his main objective today is not to pick up girls, so he still smiles slightly. "Hello, my name is Wu Yi, you can call me Brother Cat or Wu Yi. I and Brother Ming have been best friends for 4 years in the dormitory and will be future colleagues." Colleagues? Zhao Yaqian's eyes widened, her pupils full of disbelief and confusion. She had just wanted to ask about the company's Maybach car, and she didn't think that the colleague Wu Yi was talking about was a colleague of the two of them at some company. She looked at Li Kaming incredulously. "Have you and Cat Brother started a business together?" Li Kaming couldn't help but laugh, and responded, "Do you believe me if I tell you that we only decided on it an hour ago?" In fact, he hadn't really recovered from the afternoon's events yet. "Haha, yes, we decided on it this afternoon." Wu Yi laughed and picked up the conversation with ease. Glancing at the people present, she continued, Brother Ming and I are going to set up an entertainment company together. The tentative capital investment is 100 million yuan, and we will add another billion in the future depending on the situation. For now, I will temporarily serve as the general manager, while Brother Ming will serve as the company's director of artist operations. Ladies, if you are interested, you can talk to our general manager Li. His ideas can directly benefit you. Start a business? A billion? When the three women heard this figure, they all looked shocked. Zhao Yaqian in particular had no problem with Brother Cat, but things like Li Keiming suddenly turning from a nobody into a somebody were simply a bit too much for her to accept. She had originally felt that she was very far away from Brother Cat, and now she suddenly had the feeling that she was probably going to be very, very far away from Li Keiming too. She had worked for 2 talent agencies, and knew only too well how the senior management of a wealthy entertainment company would be sought after by all kinds of entertainers. Li Keiming shivered, shocked by the figure. He quickly pulled Wu Yi aside, his voice tinged with unease, Brother Mao, isn't this a bit exaggerated? Damn it, Brother Ming, pull yourself together. Wu Yi interrupted Li Keiming, his tone betraying a hint of helplessness. We're an entertainment company, and the artists are all very picky. Besides looking at the contract, you also have to look at your background and the extent of your financial resources. Otherwise, how can you establish a foothold in this industry? But isn't a billion too much? Li Keiming scratched the back of his head, clearly still uneasy about the figure. Wu Yi looked at Li Keiming, a hint of helplessness flashing in her eyes. I've paved the way for you anyway, and I'll be taking the 2 girls who participated in the National Wind Conference to dinner later. You don't happen to know why I want to set up this dinner with all internet celebrities and models, do you? To lay the groundwork for our company? Li Keiming asked tentatively. Wu Yi smiled and said, what do you think? Of course I'll do it if I have the money. I think you can organize your thoughts. This company will only be one of the companies I invest in. Sooner or later, I will let go. How far can you get? Can you make Zhao Yaqian sincerely call you a celebrity? You decide what to do. If you don't have the motivation yourself, then don't say that I won't take you with me when the time comes. Hearing Wu Yi's reply, Li Keiming's eyes immediately took on a serious expression. Brother Mao, I understand, don't worry, I will do a good job. Li Keiming swallowed, he was not stupid, and knew that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. Moreover, he knew very well that there was a second half to Wu Yi's words, and if he was not up to it, then he would replace him too. Wu Lili saw that Wu Yi and Li Keiming seemed to have finished talking, so she walked over to Wu Yi's side and said, Mr. Wu, you just asked me to find a good hot pot restaurant. According to your requirements, I recommend Lujiang Wuwei Hot Pot. The environment and taste are considered the best in Lujiang. Okay, this one will do. Wu Yi actually didn't care where to eat, but after all, there was a little purpose, so he definitely couldn't go to a food stall. He got into the car first, started it, and said, then the 3 of you follow. Waitress, ah. Wu Yi paused, looking at Wu Lili apologetically. Wu Lili was almost outraged that this guy had forgotten his own name, but there was no choice but to force a smile and bend down at the window of the Koenigsegg and whisper, Mr. Wu, my name is Wu Lili, you can call me Lily. Haha, Lily. Wu Yi-san smiled sheepishly. He had just planned to use the system to check, but there were so many girls that he really couldn't remember them all. He then continued, 1 car with me, and 3 with Lily, that way we'll have more space. Zhao Yaqian's reaction was indeed super fast. She immediately said, I'll go with Brother Mao's car. I've never even sat in a supercar before. Her voice was full of anticipation and excitement. However, just as Zhao Yaqian was about to move, Jojo blocked her way with a smile. Jojo winked mischievously and said, Shanshan, you and Brother Mao are old classmates, you should give me a newcomer a chance. I just met Brother Mao today and want to chat with him more, so don't fight with me for the car. Upon hearing this, Zhao Yaqian's face changed slightly, and she cursed in her heart. But she quickly adjusted her emotions, still wearing a smile on her face, and her tone revealed a hint of provocation. Isn't it because I'm an old classmate that I should follow Cat Brother's car even more? You just met today, and there's nothing to talk about on the car, so it would be embarrassing for Cat Brother. She giggled, glanced back at Wu Yi, then threw her an ambiguous glance, and said with confidence, I'm sure Brother Mao won't be at a loss for things to talk about with me. That look, that tone, seemed to have already determined that Wu Yi would choose her. I'll wait for you in the car. Wu Lili, with a helpless but elegant smile on her face, got into the Maybach first. Although she was assigned to be Wu Yi's special personal secretary, she was probably the only one there who hoped that Wu Yi would really take her as a maid carrying water in the end. Well, an able secretary, as long as she can keep her current job. Wu Yi rolled her eyes and pointed directly at the silent Xiaohan, saying, "You ride with me, and the rest of you, Brother Ming, you can take them." Ah, Xiaohan was stunned for a moment. Zhao Yeqian and Zhou Zhou were also stunned for a moment, looked at each other, and a look of blame flashed in their eyes. Zhao Yeqian gave Li Keiming a fierce glare, as if blaming him for not speaking up for her. Li Keiming smiled awkwardly, avoiding her gaze, and walked directly to the passenger seat of the Maybach and sat down, as if he had seen nothing. Li Keiming. What do you mean, you're arrogant now, right? Zhao Yeqian said in a bad mood, and then got into the Maybach as well. Xiaohan looked at Wu Yi nervously, then looked to Zhou Zhou for help. Zhou Zhou giggled, gently patted Xiaohan's hand, and said, "Brother Cat wants you to go with him in his car, you should be happy, you should cherish this opportunity. I also want to ride in a supercar, but unfortunately Brother Cat doesn't look down on Zhou Zhou." Zhou Zhou spoke with some melancholy, and she glanced at Wu Yi in the car, but Wu Yi didn't react in any way. There was nothing she could do, so she had to get into the Maybach too. Chapter 89, The Simple Xiaohan. The roar of the Koenigsegg sounded, and the entire body of the car was like an arrow waiting to be released, instantly rushing onto the road. Xiaohan sat in the passenger seat, quietly staring ahead, her hands clasped tightly on the armrest, trying to calm her inner nervousness. Wu Yi smiled and said, "What are you so nervous about?" Xiaohan took a deep breath and muttered something under her breath. "Not everyone is a pervert." After a while, she responded softly, "I'm just not used to the speed of this supercar." Wu Yi couldn't help but laugh softly when he heard Xiaohan's response. "Ha, I thought you were afraid I was going to eat you." He had only intended to lighten the mood, but Xiaohan nodded seriously, "Well, a little bit." Cough cough. Wu Yi suddenly realized that this little girl is really a bit naive. "Don't you family's young masters have the idea of how to get us in your heads?" Xiaohan muttered. Wu Yi was full of black lines, his heart was sweating. This little girl is afraid not to watch too many Korean dramas, right? He simply asked directly, "So, don't you like living in a mansion, riding in a luxury car, and living the life of a rich woman?" A glimmer of expectation flashed in Xiaohan's eyes, but she quickly lowered her head. "I like it. But rich people like you are all scumbags who fall in love with every woman you meet and have countless women around you. Some of them are even psychopaths. I have a sister." Xiaohan stopped talking after saying this, and a flash of bad memories passed through her mind. "Who are you talking about? What happened to your sister?" Xiaohan's eyes darted around. "It's not you. My sister was abandoned after having an affair with a second generation." Wu Yi laughed, "Ha, so you're worried about the lack of a guarantee for the future." No, I'm just saying." Xiaohan suddenly realized that she seemed to have said something she shouldn't have, and she shook her head quickly. Wu Yi laughed, "If it's about this matter, then I can say responsibly that there are indeed many women around me, and there may only be more and more in the future. If a woman follows me, I can't guarantee love and family, but I think I can do a good job of financial security." Xiaohan froze for a moment. What kind of scumbag comment is this? But then she was in a daze again, and she almost forgot that the man in front of her was the godly and wealthy Catman who had appeared in the past few days. Wu Yi looked at Xiaohan's embarrassed state and a smile curled the corner of her mouth. "So tell me, if it were you, how much would you consider a guarantee?" "I didn't mean that." Xiaohan hurriedly waved her hands, a hint of panic on her face. "I was just talking about what happened to a lot of my sisters in our circle." She tried to explain, but the look of panic made her seem even more endearing. Wu Yi looked at Xiaohan's expression, and the smile in her heart grew even stronger. "It's fine, just say whatever you like. If it were you, and a rich young man wanted to make you his mistress, what would you consider a guarantee?" Xiaohan was silent for a long time, and then said, "First of all, this rich young man has to be normal." "Normal?" Wu Yi was embarrassed. What kind of request was that? "I'm just kidding." Xiaohan thought some more, and then said hesitantly, "In Lujiang, at least 3 million in cash?" Then there was a moment of silence, and she quickly covered her face, thinking, "Oh my, what am I saying?" Wu Yi almost dropped the steering wheel in her hands. "How much?" Xiaohan's palm opened a little. "Too much? Too little? How about 5 million? Wu Yi nodded seriously. "But 5 million can't even buy a decent house in Lujiang. You're talking to a rich guy, don't you want to settle down in Lujiang?" Xiaohan froze for a moment. This person is crazy, helping to raise the price under these conditions? But after thinking about it, it seemed to make a lot of sense. Since he is a big shot, it is not too much to help him settle down. So he said again, 10 million? You can still save a lot buying a house. Wu Yi suppressed a smile and said, okay, deal. You report the card number, I'll call you right away. Xiao Han was startled by Wu Yi's reply and suddenly felt a bit silly. She quickly said, I made a mistake. It should be 15 million. Deal. No, I meant 20 million. Deal. How about I buy you a car as well? A car, a house, a bride price. Oh, and how about some gold jewelry as well? Wu Yi burst out laughing. The more Xiao Han listened, the more she sensed that something was wrong. Ah! She scratched her hair in anger, looking a bit helpless and cute. That expression, that movement, it was just like a misunderstood little white rabbit. It was hard to hold back a smile. Okay, I was just teasing you. Wu Yi looked at Xiao Han's cute appearance and smiled reassuringly. Look at you, you're so flustered, your face is all red. I promise, I don't have any thoughts about you, okay? Xiao Han lowered her head a little bit, embarrassed, and whispered, yes, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. It's no big deal, you're actually quite cute like this. Wu Yi couldn't help but laugh again when she saw Xiao Han's apologetic expression. Hearing this, Xiao Han looked up at Wu Yi with a look full of confusion and a little curiosity. Really? I've always been called Han Han by the fans in the live broadcast room because I always do things that everyone thinks are stupid. Wu Yi paused for a moment after hearing this, and then smiled and said, Han Han is pretty good. Sometimes the world just needs a Han Han attitude to deal with things, and that's the only way to live a carefree life. You're so rich, aren't you comfortable? Xiao Han couldn't help but ask back. In her opinion, being rich should mean being able to do whatever you want without any restrictions. In fact, money can only solve troubles, but being comfortable or happy is not entirely linked to money. Wu casually responded. If he had to tell the truth, after getting the system for 3 days, he hadn't felt uncomfortable in any way. To be fair, he was very happy. Having money is definitely better than having no money. Xiao Han whispered this and then stopped talking, worried that if Wu Yi brought up the 20 million again, she wouldn't know how to respond. Wu Yi just smiled and didn't say anything else. According to the navigation, Koenigsegg arrived at the underground parking lot of the Luzhuguowei Hot Pot. It so happened that Wu Lily's Maybach had just arrived as well. As soon as they got out of the car, Wu Yi saw Zhao Yeqian and Li Kaming arguing as they got out of the car. Zhao Yeqian kept waving her little fists and pounding Li Kaming's upper arm, shouting, "Who wants to sit on the hood? Who wants to sit on the hood?" Wu Yi looked at Wu Lily and asked, "What are they doing?" Wu Lily said helplessly, "The two of them are discussing whether the Maybach has more space or the Rolls-Royce has more space." President Li obviously didn't expect that Miss Zhao had actually sat in a Rolls-Royce, so it's obvious that he's failed to impress. Chapter 90, in the car or directly in the basement? Zhao Yeqian saw Wu Yi and quickly put away her shrewish appearance. She glared at Li Kaming and said, "You're bluffing. Next time, draft it properly, so that it really looks like your car, and sell it." What are you bluffing about? Wu Yi laughed. Jojo giggled. Brother Ming said that the Maybach is uncomfortable to sit in, so he wants to sell it and buy a Rolls-Royce for Qianshan to sit in. However, only beautiful women like me can sit in the car, and Qianshan can only sit on the hood of the Rolls-Royce. Wu Yi looked at Li Kaming, who laughed. As a result, she once again received a punch from Zhao Yeqian. Wu Yi smiled and turned to Wu Lily and said, "Didn't you hear? Boss Li said the Maybach is no good, so tomorrow you go buy Boss Li a Rolls-Royce Phantom." What? Everyone present froze upon hearing these words. For a moment, the air was filled with an atmosphere of surprise and disbelief. Pretending to say the Maybach is really the same as yours. Wu Lily inwardly scoffed, but the boss is pretending to be cool, and the secretary must keep up. With a respectful expression on her face, she said, "Okay, President Wu, I will contact the Rolls-Royce dealership in Luzhou later to see if there are any cars in stock." Jojo giggled, her voice clear and pleasant. Brother Cat is just so generous. It's such an honor to be able to work with him in the future. Jojo's words were full of respect. Wu Yi froze for a moment. Colleague? What do you mean? Wu Yi turned to Li Kaming, a trace of doubt flashing in her eyes. Li Kaming's nose was almost up in the sky at this moment, and he laughed with delight, saying, I was able to use my natural negotiating skills to explain to Jojo our entertainment company's ambition to attack the national market from the start. Jojo immediately agreed to join our company, and she is the first artist I want to sign, hee hee. Jojo looked at Wu Yi and said happily, Brother Cat, you have to cherish Jojo in the future. Wu Yi smiled. He didn't expect the first artist to be Jojo. He had just been thinking that the first artist would probably be Zhao Yaqian. After all, it felt like the only person Li Kaming could convince was Zhao Yaqian. He laughed, gave a thumbs up, and said, Brother Ming is awesome. Zhao Yaqian shrugged her shoulders. It wasn't that she didn't want to join Brother Cat's company, it was mainly because she still had a few months left on her contract with her previous company, and although the Guofeng conference the day after tomorrow was initiated by the brand, if the agency didn't want her, she wouldn't even be able to attend. So she didn't even dare to express her position, for fear that someone might accidentally pass on the information. Okay, go up. Wu Yi ended the previous conversation with a sentence and turned towards the elevator. As a high-end hot pot restaurant, Lujiang Private Hot Pot already had waiters waiting in the elevator to guide them. Wu Lily immediately went up to report her reservation, and the waiter quickly and respectfully pressed the elevator button for the group. Wu Yi was about to get into the elevator when Wu Lily suddenly stopped him and said, Wait, Mr. Wu. She seemed to hesitate for a moment, but finally mustered up the courage. Wu Yi turned around and looked at Wu Lily, his eyes showing a hint of surprise. Kai Ming, you go on up first, Wu's secretary and I still have some things to discuss. Okay, Brother Mao. Li Kaiming responded, and took the lead into the elevator, followed by Jojo and Yiqian. Xiaohan, however, didn't know what to think, and after looking at Wu Lily several times, she followed into the elevator as if she had just woken up from a dream. Seeing Xiaohan's expression, Wu Lily cursed in her heart. She felt that most likely, while driving, Wu Yi must have said or done something to Xiaohan. Otherwise, how could Xiaohan have gone from just looking at her indifferently at first to now looking at her with a little curiosity? This curiosity was exactly the same as that of Jojo and Zhao Yaqian, it was the curiosity of a woman. Hey, I don't really want to find him. Wu Lily bit her lower lip slightly, feeling a little embarrassed, but then she said, Can I borrow your car? A friend of mine is coming, and I need to pick her up at the airport. If I go back now to get my own car, I'll probably be very late. Borrow your car? Wu Yang raised an eyebrow, so you're not going to have dinner with us? I have to have dinner with your group of women? Wu Lily paused for a moment, and then said directly, I don't think that would be convenient. I think I'd better just do my job as your secretary. Wu Yi raised her eyebrows and laughed. You haven't forgotten that you are my maid, have you? Wu Lily almost vomited blood when she heard this, and she snapped. Mr. Wu, when we first met at noon, I said that I was willing to provide you with any service. If you really want it, I can serve you now. How about it? Do you want to do it in the car or directly in the basement? Wu Yi smiled and pointed at the ceiling. I don't mind doing it in the garage or in the car, but the only thing I mind is performing in front of the cameras. Wu Lily looked up and saw 3 cameras positioned at the top of the garage. Her face flushed and she didn't know what to say. Wu Yi took out the Shield electronic key from her pocket and laughed, Take it, since you have something to do, just go. But what's the big deal about borrowing a car, just say no. Wu Lily blushed like blood. After seeing the Shield electronic key, she hurriedly said, No, I dare not drive your supercar. I want to borrow the Maybach. It's just that the car is now equipped with GPS positioning, and the company will definitely ask me why I went to the airport. So we have to report the itinerary and purpose of using the car. I hope you can say that you are the one using the car. It's such a hassle, and I have to report my itinerary? Wu Yi frowned. He didn't like the feeling of being monitored, but he still said, It's fine, you can use it. I'll say I sent you. After all, the delay was also because I called you at the last minute. Thank you. Wu Yi nodded and said, But after you said that, I still think it's better if I use the car myself. Don't forget to help me buy the Rolls-Royce tomorrow, and buy 2 more business cars while you're at it. My company is expected to have this kind of demand often in the future. Really buying a Rolls-Royce? Wu Lily froze for a moment. He had just thought that Wu Yi was just saying it to give Li Kaming face. After all, the Maybach belongs to the bank, so how could it be sold directly for a new car? Wu Yi laughed and said, What's there to fake about it? Do you think I'm joking? Okay, I'll get in touch and give you an offer. Wu Lily blushed, But when she thought about it, it wasn't really that strange. After all, someone was buying a house for 160 million yuan and saying they'd buy it, so what's the big deal about a Rolls-Royce? It's just that she suddenly had an extra task. There's no rush, you go and pick up your friend first, and we'll talk about it later. Just then, a Lamborghini and a BMW L8 drove up. The roar of the engines filled the entire basement.